What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 11 MP Chapter 266 Power. The power of this ninjutsu itself is not large, but if the power of the caster is very strong, or his chara is very abundant, then the power of this ninjutsu can be infinitely close to infinite, because it is a physical art in itself in addition, plus a ninjutsu that is linked with his own chara. There is nothing special about it, but it only shapes an attack method and that's it. At this moment, Reikage and Killer Bee rushed towards each other, and attached very abundant chakra to their arms. When two chara collide with each other, the power is very terrifying. It is mixed with both physical damage and chara ninjutsu damage, and its power is so great that most people can hardly parry it. But Yuhu is not an ordinary person. His power is derived from a very terrifying existence. In fact, it has no shape. It hides in the pot alone and is connected to the pot. Its mouth grows in the position of the eyes, and the eyes grow on the forehead and mouth. It can extend several smaller arms from the head. Then after molting, his body will be transformed into a complete body, becoming stronger and harder than diamond. The reason why he is extraordinary is because he grandmasters all kinds of killing methods. When he was still a human, he liked to kill animals, and he killed all kinds of small animals, doing everything possible. Just to be content with your own quirks. His avatars are almost equivalent to the embodiment of his personal character, because everyone exists independently, so it is almost equivalent to a psychotic schizophrenic. At this time, Yuhu was killing the ninjas of the Ninja Alliance. When he saw the human body, he was even more excited than seeing his boss, because it meant that he could start torturing again. As long as he is tortured at the beginning, then nothing can interrupt him. He will completely indulge his body and mind, and he will be able to use all kinds of cruelty in his mind. The method is applied to the ninjas of the Ninja Alliance. The mutilated person will die soon, but some parts of his body will be collected by the jade pot, pasted in his pot, and displayed in the place where he lives, and he thinks it is a kind of very rare art. Advertisement. This is not what he thought after he became a ghost, but what he has done since a long time ago, or since he was a child. Very cruel and very ruthless, but he is very intoxicated and willing to give his life for it. At this time, the lay plow hot knife had approached the jade pot, and attacked from both sides, just about to completely cut his head out of his pot. But at this moment, his 5 clones suddenly rushed towards Reikage from a distance, and the speed was very fast, making it impossible for people to react. Killer Bee and Reikage didn't react, but they didn't plan to stop. If someone helped him stop this move, then even those people would be destroyed together. They thought so. Because they know the principle of catching the thief first and the king. No matter when they were carrying out the mission or in many situations now, they will uphold a principle, that is, to catch the thief first to capture the king. No matter what it is, it must have its commander. As long as the commander is killed, the remaining people will lose their fighting spirit, the battle will become easier, and it may even end immediately. There is only one very exception, and he is 4th Hokage. Reikage originally looked down on 4th Hokage, because he felt that a ninja like this had no strength, just a Hokage that Konoha people boasted about. At that time, Konoha's strength had reached the point of exhaustion, but it still did not completely collapse, so when Reikage wanted to lead Union Village to launch an all-out attack on Konoha, he was stopped by this Hokage. He thought he didn't have much ability, but in the end he was able to draw a tie with him, and was almost killed by him. Reikage has always pursued a one-strength approach, and feels that any tricks ninjutsu can do are useless on his lightning-style armor, and will eventually be ruthlessly smashed. But that person is not the same at all. His speed is very fast. Not only those old ninjas who have experienced the battlefield can't find it, but even some tailed beasts are not his opponents at all. Advertisement. That kind of speed is not something that ordinary people can have, and Reikage doesn't think there is a second person in this world who can have such a speed, but he saw it today. The guy in front of him who put his body in the pot is very strange, and the speed of his clones is also very strange, just like his limbs. Lei Li and Hot Knife rushed over suddenly, wanting to destroy his clone with him in one fell swoop, but they heard the ridicule from Yuhu at the same moment. HMPH, you guys are really whimsical. Do you really think I'll just be defeated like this? You really look down on me too much. He said. At the same time, small arms stretched out from his head, and those arms also had some small heads themselves, as if they were not one with him, but they completely obeyed his commands. Following this needle, fish kill, he shouted, shooting Reikage with a lot of needles. But Reikage's body is not a vegetarian, and his physical quality is not what ordinary people can achieve. Not only is he very tough, but in battles, he often challenges tens of thousands of people by himself. Even if they all attack him, he can easily take the heads of the opponent's commanders on the battlefield and find things in their pockets. 2.6, very easy, relying on his very strong body, as well as being injected with lightning, it became extremely fast. Those needle sticks on his body, although it is a blood ghost technique, have a certain curse effect, but when they hit him, they have no effect. Yuhu also did not expect that his technique would be so useless, but in the next moment, he immediately launched his killer, no longer hiding it, but wanted to solve the guy in front of him in an instant. If it can't be solved, he understands that his time of death has come. These guys who look very weak actually have 2 brushes. Yuhu didn't want to die in this place, so he decided to spare no effort to kill each other. Chapter 267 Breaking the Cocoon. If he is still too frugal, then everything will be against him in the future, and that is not a good thing. So he resorted to his ultimate stunt, molting. That's right, it's a very direct molt, freeing himself from the pot, withdrawing the outer layer of his skin, and evolving into a true complete body, just like a butterfly destroying an enemy. As we all know, a butterfly is equivalent to a creature that can be slaughtered before it breaks its cocoon, that is, a caterpillar, which makes people feel very disgusting. The same is true for the jade pot, but his crack is different from the policeman's. He drilled the hook from the pot, and his pot still has residues left by him. Although those residues look very disgusting, they cannot be underestimated at all, because he may hatch a more terrifying creature under thistle, or it may be a ghost or something else. When the jade pot came out of the pot, it had no lower limbs, only a tail like a snake's tail. And he can easily move his body, and the speed is very fast. However, there are webs between his palms, just like a fish, and his body is covered with scales that are harder than diamonds. Those hands of the gods are very powerful, not only have sharp teeth and claws, but also can cause certain collateral damage to the enemy when dealing with them, and can parasitize them like a plague, and have some influence on him. So Yoo-hoo started a new round of battle. However, in the battle between the two Raikage brothers, the two brothers had never seen such a monster. In their impression, most of the enemies they fought against were considered very normal, but this guy was so strange. Not only can it be said that it is very annoying, and it can be said that they have practiced the method of evil poison. Unlike the chara they practiced, it may even be some other more weird chara power or other energies. They had seen some guys in the past who practiced other energies. They don't rely on chara to fight, they rely on energy they don't know where they get from, and they have developed various ninjutsu by themselves, and their strength is almost the same as theirs, or even stronger. It's just that they were defeated by them in the end, which means that chara is more powerful in the end. So Raikage is also confident enough to beat him. Advertisement. Let the horses come. As he said that, he wanted to let his younger brother ring back and test the water for him first. If you say that you can't beat this guy, then there is no need for your brother to try. But the other shadows wouldn't just watch Raikage go up and die, so they gathered together to attack. In an instant, the air channel, the water channel, the fire style, and the earth style all hit Yoo-hoo in an instant. Yoo-hoo's body is very hard, and these ninjutsu can't do much damage to him, but they also cause him some troubles, so that he can't continue to pursue and can only be defeated. That is, at the last moment, he finally intends to turn back and unleashes his strongest blood ghost technique, Octopus Hell. From the pot, he summoned a giant tentacle the size of a house to strangle the opponent. His octopus tentacle was soft and elastic, and a normal blade could not cut it at all. But it's an octopus tentacle after all. When Killer Bee saw this tentacle, he felt very familiar for a while. Because he often uses octopus tentacles to fight with each other, and his octopus assistant is from Eight Tails, a guy with a bullhead octopus body. His octopus tentacles can regenerate anytime and anywhere. As long as he has Zara, he can summon the octopus tentacles anytime and anywhere, and take a series of methods to entangle him, and even a certain amount of ninjutsu, to learn the use of octopus tentacles. So when he saw that the other party used octopus tentacles, he couldn't sit still, and immediately summoned Eight Tails octopus tentacles to compete with the other party to see whose tentacles were stronger. Yoo-hoo was also taken aback, and when he saw that the other octopuses had summoned so many octopuses, and were even on par with him, he was suddenly stunned, not knowing what to say. Because his octopus tentacles are already entangled with the opponent's, which is equivalent to fixing himself and cutting into a rope, it is absolutely impossible to escape now. However, ninjas are not afraid of this. Advertisement. I didn't expect that there are such strong people in the Ninja Alliance. They know that if they don't take advantage of this opportunity to launch a fatal blow against the Jade Pot, then he may ask for more means in the future. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Destruction of the entire army is not the choice they thought, so they plan to fight to the death. Even if their lives are exhausted, they will never retreat half a point. But this bought a lot of time for the Ninja Coalition. But he is a ghost after all, and can have the ability to resurrect. Now that I finally know, I no longer feel afraid. The appearance of a group of people with the same enemy is very terrifying. In just a moment, the Jade Pot was smashed by these ninjutsu, and it turned into a pool of blood and fell to the ground. And by virtue of his cruel nature, he will definitely not let the Ninja Coalition army easily. Yoo-hoo was still fighting with others, but when he saw these ninjutsu flying to his face, there was no way to dodge for a while. As a result, they began to use their own ninjutsu 487, and threw them all on Yoo-hoo's face. Ninjutsu hit him in the face, causing serious damage to him, and even if he had an impregnable wall, he still couldn't prevent so many people from attacking. What's more, his scale armor is actually not that hard. Although it looks as indestructible as a diamond, in fact, as long as you have patience, you can still break his armor. He couldn't help but boast, and the octopus tentacles he summoned were spelled together with each other. The attacks of the two tentacles were indistinguishable and intertwined, and it was impossible to see who was superior and who was inferior. Isn't it just resurrection? They have the means to deal with it. And by that time, the Ninja Coalition is likely to be wiped out. What's more, not all of the Ninja Coalition forces are waste, some of them are using tricks to deal with Yoo-hoo, but they don't know what kind of thing he is at first, and there is no way to start with him. Chapter 268 Mingnu. So they summoned the sealing class and asked them to go over and use his pot as a medium to seal him in the bowl. What, before being sealed, he shouted desperately, but it didn't work at all. He had never seen sealing techniques at all, and even warned how to get rid of it. Fortunately, the ninja coalition did not expect to be able to seal him for too long as it could hold him down temporarily, it would be a good thing. Another layer has been broken through, and the battlefield of the next layer has been opened. Ninja coalition, look at me, I look at you, they don't want to continue. Because this guy alone has made them very uncomfortable, they spent a lot of effort, and then closed the jade pot, and they have spent almost all of their chara. Then you have to let them continue, so how can it be done? Finally, this time, they will never talk about brotherhood again, and they will never talk about village ninja or something. Many people lay on the ground and pretended to be dead on the spot. Although you can fight to the death, you can't play like that with physical strength. If it is used up, then there is only one dead end. So they didn't want to die in such a humiliating way, so they began to grind their tempers with their own leadership. When the five shadows saw this situation, they were also very sympathetic in their hearts. Because their own chara has been consumed by more than half, if there is no easier way to break through to the next level, they will definitely not go to the next level. Unable to make up their minds all the time, they sat on the ground and began to rest. But Yi Lin, who was in the distance at this moment, couldn't bear it any longer. Advertisement, how can they do it if they don't break through? If they don't continue, wouldn't their good show be completely over? And now seeing the state of the ninja coalition, they are actually on the verge of collapse. If they don't collapse, then naturally there will be no such idea of, if someone can save his life, and, try, so they need to feel the horror of this place and deeply appreciate the cruelty of the Ghost King and the Virtual King. Only in this way they will continue to be grateful for his sudden appearance. So what should I do next? Yi Lin thought to himself, should we reduce the difficulty? No, can't. If it is said that the difficulty is reduced, then they will not have the emotional collapse. So all we can do is trust them and see if they will have the confidence to go on. If they have the confidence to go on, then all is well said. As long as they are willing to continue to break through to the next level, then Yi Lin will mention the final boss early to let them experience the real despair. But after waiting for a long time, even if the ninja coalition had recovered chakra, they still did not choose to move on, but were still resting, and they didn't want to talk to each other, as if they were paralyzed. It's just that Zheng's paralysis doesn't meet Yi Lin's requirements. Yi Lin thinks that if they don't continue to break through, or if their self-confidence is not completely defeated, then it will be considered a failure. Failure was the most unacceptable thing for Yi Lin, so he planned to force the next battlefield and let the next boss appear earlier. Holding this kind of demonic thought, Yi Lin began to smirk in his heart. Arranged the fourth of the string on the battlefield of the fifth of the string, and Qian Yun appeared in front of the ninja coalition. Lianwen allied forces are resting at this time. No matter how dangerous their side is, they don't even bother to do patrols and don't want to continue to think about safety or insecurity. As long as they can rest, then they will be grateful God is grateful. But their gods will not pay attention to them, and feel that they are too wasteful, and do not want to lower their blessings to them. Just when they were about to fall asleep, it suddenly became dark again. They knew what was going to happen, so they both laughed wryly at each other. This is too difficult, they are about to cry. Advertisement. Whoever said he was coming to this island, grab it and throw it away. The ninjas couldn't take it anymore. Although they fought hard to defeat every boss, in the end they all became exhausted and had no morale at all. If a unit is said to have no morale, it is not far from collapse. They've collapsed now, there's just no way to get out of the place and can't find any hooks. The five shadows searched around, and even after searching for a long time beside the original formation pillars, they could not find a way out. The island of Oni is the place they shouldn't come, and they are very clear, but it doesn't make any sense to say this right now. They don't continue to fight, and all they have to wait for is death. Compared with infant death, they felt that it was more honorable to die in battle. At this moment, suddenly, a pipa sound came from the darkness. The sound of the pipa is very crisp and pleasant, which makes people very addicted. All of a sudden, this beautiful music reminded everyone of their own images and people. They were afraid of fighting and wanted to escape and go home, and even cried out because of the crisp music. Next, the ninja coalition forces cried out to the net, like children who had never seen anything in the world, all hugged their heads and cried, and regretted coming to this island very much. As the leadership, the five shadows thought about how to encourage their ninja coalition, but even they had no way to solve the current situation. He had no way to promise his soldiers, his own ninjas, Qian Zhao, because they took them to this place where birds don't shit from the beginning, and finally they couldn't get out a word in it. Not even anyone can believe that they have given them enough trust, they have completely worn away their trust. Listening to the sound of the pipa, the beautiful music made everyone miserable, but only the battle-hardened ninja Tasuki knew that it was nothing more than genjutsu. They didn't actually hear the sound of the pipa now, they were just brainwashed by the music and thought they heard it. Then it is very likely that there will be some fatal attacks that make them unable to escape. At that time, there is no way to fight against them. So they started to open a wound with kunai to make themselves sober. They knew that if they were not sober now, they would never have the chance to sober up again. Chapter 269 Bug. Finally, the pain made them more refreshed and dry. But it is ridiculous that the sound of the pipa or the sound of the pipa has not changed in the slightest. Didn't genjutsu cancel? Do not. As Mizukage's bodyguard, Ao said. One of his eyes is inlaid with a white eye, and he can easily see where the other party is. He pointed forward to a roof, and everyone followed his finger to look into the distance. I found a graceful woman sitting on the roof, holding a lute in her hand, playing. It's really strumming, not releasing the hook what genjutsu does. The ninja coalition immediately relaxed and felt the sincerity of the other party. Since the other party put down the blade and responded to their calm impeachment, then shouldn't they continue to fight? With this naive idea, they even wanted to get to know this wonderful woman. However, at this moment, the woman suddenly opened her eyes, and everyone was immediately startled. Because that woman has only one eye, and wrote a very obvious word one by one in her own eye. Winding up. Someone guessed. As expected, this is boss 4875 on the next floor, and she has come to this battlefield ahead of schedule. To welcome her, she even played the pipa. Unlucky enough, they didn't want to continue the strategy, but they were forced to put it on the shelves. All ready to fight, Hokage ordered immediately. In order not to let themselves die in this place, the ninja coalition had to move their bodies desperately and form a formation. At the same time, his hands began to form seals, squeezing a little Zarira from his body. Advertisement, but those chara are not enough in the eyes of the fourth one, Mingyu, and she doesn't even want to continue fighting, because she knows that if she does it herself, then all these people will die. For all of them heard his lute. Her lute sound, so it doesn't cause any substantial damage to them, but it can locate their position through sound waves. The location is not determined by the bounce of sound waves, but by something small. The ninja coalition forces are now ready for battle. But just when they were going to think about a countermeasure and want to attack the woman above, there was something agitating them on their shoulders. They turned their heads and found a bloodshot eye staring at them. Follow them. What? They were very frightened, but those eyes swam very fast to their necks, cutting their throats. Yes, they can't keep breathing anymore. What? Many people fell to the ground, they were all attacked, and some people reacted quickly, and immediately squeezed these eyes, so they were able to escape the attack of these things. It's just that some people still died. The ninja allied forces are now basically free of Chunin or Genin. Those who were not able to fight had been completely eliminated, and all that remained were elites. These elites are all heroes who are hard to be won, but in this battlefield, they are just ordinary members. As ordinary members of the battlefield, they feel that this war has nothing to do with them, but in fact it is impossible without them. You can know the opponent's tricks or skills in the first time. Of course this is just a fact, but if the hook comes, it will hurt their feelings. The Ninja Alliance can't engage in class confrontation, so they can't just carelessly take the lives of the lower-level ninjas. For them, without their silent dedication as the grassroots, there is no way for them, a GCG, to fight diligently and effectively. Everyone regroup immediately. The shadows called again, but the people who stayed by their side were already very few Akatsuki. They are all kinds of elites, and they are very familiar faces, who have left very impressive events in various battlefields. Advertisement, but even these people, they feel that it is very likely that they will be completely lost in the next battle. Losing them would mean that the major villages would have no power to regenerate. For the village, they are equivalent to leaders. If they all die, then a village will face a disaster. But if these guys are not eliminated, then it will be the real disaster. Sooner or later, they will start the ninja world, and at that time, everyone will die. In order to prevent themselves from being unable to fight back at that time, they were able to form a bond and fight against these foreign enemies together. So many people began to want to immediately rush to the roof and wipe out that woman. But he was still playing the lute calmly, and he didn't seem to be affected. However, just as they rushed to the roof, when they hooked their weapons, they found that this woman suddenly disappeared again in the darkness of dawn, like other ghosts, can never be found again her presence. However, it was not as they imagined, everyone was attacked and suffered great trauma again. For a while, each of them quickly returned to the original point, and asked their companions to avoid any unusual harm. However, in the next second, they found that the sun suddenly appeared in the sky, everyone was bathed in the sun, and the battlefield had collapsed, and the next passage suddenly appeared. What's the matter? How could this be? The ninja coalition all looked at each other blankly. They didn't know why this happened. Could it be that the charge they just made scared this woman? Or, does this woman have any strength in her own right? They looked at each other in dismay, but this also gave them more confidence, and clearly told them that the defending boss of the infinite battlefield is not invincible. They can also be scared away, and there is this emotion of fear, not real ghost. But only Yi Lin knew the real reason. At this moment, Fantong issued a notice to him, telling him the real reason for this incident. Naruto has been reclaimed by her owner, Ghost Dance. Yi Lin was stunned. Hook bug. Chapter 270th Unintentional Act. Fantong didn't say much about this, just told Yi Lin that he had never danced a puppet before, and with that puppet he would be able to use all the puppets under him without any restrictions. It's just because their power can't break the time and space and affect the original world, so all the puppets he uses now are virtualized. Even if they have 100% of the power of the main body, they are still not themselves, just a phantom. Shadow, in the end, must be summoned by the original protagonist. That is to say, if they themselves do not have free will, then any other master who has orders for them can search them back to their own world. If his self does not resist, then it will be easy to be taken away. This is so unlucky. Yi Lin never dreamed that the puppet he summoned, the puppet he had worked so hard to operate for so long, was so simple that he was summoned by his original owner. Although it is said that the blood of these 12 ghost months is the blood he has danced with, in the end, he also spends Xiao points, and those points are also searched from various places by him. It's too easy to say that you give this puppet to him. And these things are obviously all created by them. If they want to collect and recycle it, then what kind of things are they? Yi Lin thought about it carefully and felt that this was really not worth it. If he didn't get his original owner, then sooner or later he would be against him one day, but he didn't know his existence yet. Recycling this puppet is an unintentional move, but if one day they're in their own world, they suddenly know their existence through some changes, then refuse to send their puppet to me, what should I do next? Wouldn't his combat effectiveness be greatly weakened? This tradition is a weak point. Advertisement. Yi Lin felt that such a complex system was actually unnecessary. He gave all his strength, but in the end, he made such a bug. No one wants to have any bugs in their own complex system, even the best programmers. Not excluded. Yi Lin originally thought about how to rely on this complex power to raise his strength to the highest step by step, until he finally sat on the position of the highest king, for which he was willing to sacrifice his life. Of course, if you really want to give your life, it would be too unfortunate. So what he thought was, if he wants to become the strongest, then he must do it step by step and do it down to earth, at least he tried. But he did not expect to encounter such a stumbling block on his way to becoming a god. This stumbling block does not come from other forces, but from his own power to boost himself. This power is tradition. Fantong actually has a bug, which Yi Lin never thought of anyway, but it's no one to blame, who made him not draw the real master of the 12 Ghost Moon, Ghost Dance. If it is said that the Ghost Dance is drawn into the hand, then no one can control his use anymore? Even those points don't know how to convert them into something beneficial to them. So Yi Lin felt that there was nothing to say about this, but it was easy for the ninja coalition to break through this layer. Even if they broke through Xiao, there were still 4, 3, 2, 1, and those things were enough for him to fight. After a while, and after breaking through this layer, there are more good things waiting for him. 0. For flowers. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. These puppets have completely become his things. After thinking about it, Yi Lin thinks it actually makes sense. After all, the puppets in his hands are all temporary puppets. Although these puppets can be used by him for a period of time on the bright side, but in the end it wasn't his thing, he was renting it, and he didn't pay any price. Advertisement. It's just that now that he has used it, what kind of price must he pay? Even if the other party wants to recycle it, he has nothing to say. Something better to come. For this reason, he asked Fantong how he should continue to do it. If there is really no way to let the ghost dance draw, then he no longer wants to become stronger, and he will no longer do anything for the sake of tradition. All he thinks about now is how to get the ghost dance and then finish the battle, but if he doesn't succeed, then he just eats and waits to die, and becomes a salted fish, just like fish in the Hokage world. No one can stop him, and even if he goes into seclusion, no one can stop him. Yi Lin felt that if they were to fight, they would not know when they would fight, but what he wanted was this effect: as long as it was more difficult for them, the more they would remember the road they walked, how hard it was. So in the end, a savior suddenly came to the rhyme, so for them, it was undoubtedly the most touching. All he wanted was to use the play he played to present himself as the greatest savior, and this savior must break all the situation at the most critical time and turn the tide in one fell swoop. What you get from battle is actually not the same as what you get without hard work. The points you get for nothing, in exchange for the fruit, although it is very shameless, but in the end it is actually the same, the results are both, same loss. Only in this way will make people impressive, and it will make people remember him for a lifetime. So he began to think about how to twitch the ghost dance. If he has drawn the ghost dance, then all of his puppets in the next 12 ghost moons may be masters in his hands. Generally speaking, the savior is the last to appear, and Yi Lin is no exception. Fantong hasn't said anything to him since the beginning of the fight. Even if he told him how to do all these things from the beginning, he has never received any actual solutions or plans, what he has in his hands. Saying more is more, saying less is less, although you can use battle points to exchange for some puppets, but in the end, most of those puppets are obtained by himself. He felt that this was a really good plan, so he thought about doing it, but in the end he had to overcome a lot of difficulties. These difficulties were related to his temporary puppet. What if he gave up another ghost dance? So in the next period of time, he began to think about HO Chapter 271 Consequences on Heroes. Yi Lin is a person who treats heroes with results. He feels that if the result is right, it doesn't matter how the process is, even if it is unscrupulous, he must achieve that goal. Just like Cao Cao in the Three Kingdoms, he always felt that Cao Cao was unscrupulous and dared to be the first in the world. He wanted to be such a person, and only in this way could he become an emperor. He felt that it was possible to continue in this way, but nothing else, so he began to think about how to use the few points he had left to draw out the misfortune. But when he asked about Fantong, he suddenly received a reply from Fantong. SSS level puppet ghost dance will be automatically presented to the host when the next target point is reached, without the need to draw points. Next target point: conquer the ninja coalition and make it bow down to 487 as a minister. Whatever comes to his mind, Yi Lin feels that it should be done in this way. Instead of just letting him exchange points for puppets, he should have some goals and do some things purposefully. Only in this way, after being able to be more involved in the next thing, at least not be distracted by other things. Once a person has a goal, he will become stronger and stronger. Yi Lin is also like this, so he didn't think too much about it. As long as the complex system can be normal, then everything else doesn't matter. If that's the case, then he must speed up, own progress. If you say that you can get the strongest puppet after conquering the allied ninja army one by one, then it is actually not that difficult, because the current allied ninja army seems to be exhausted and wants to defeat them. In fact, it is not too difficult a thing. Yi Lin now only needs to wave his fingers and send all his puppets down, then it is completely fine, but for these ninjas, it is actually not a good thing, and they are likely to be overwhelmed by it. Advertisement, and at that time, they won't have any kind of gratitude for anything, and they will only feel that they can't survive this disaster after all, which is really inappropriate. Yi Lin didn't think it should, so he was slowly testing the ninja coalition, just like an examiner. Yi Lin also had exam experience. When he took the exam at that time, as a candidate, he would think about how the examiner should torture him, and he also knew why the examiner tortured him. But the current ninja coalition does not know. The most they know is that they have walked into a foothold, and now there is no way out of this predicament. They can only continue to challenge down and continue to rise from the dead. Only in this way can you truly rescue yourself from hell. But it's actually not that simple. Although Yi Lin said he wasn't a devil, what he was doing now was the devil's thing. He treated the ninja coalition as a lamb to be slaughtered, and used a knife to grind them around their ears. In this way, they will naturally have a sense of fear, which is a prerequisite for becoming a slave. As long as Yi Lin exerts enough fear on them to make them feel that the world is dark and that he is in hell, then if he gives him a little sense of security, it will be like a person suddenly discovered in the dark a little bit of light, and then desperately ran away with the light. No matter what obstacles along the way could not stop him. This is what is called hope. The policemen say that evil and darkness are the key to destroying a person, but in fact hope is the ultimate means to destroy a person. Yi Lin is actually not good at surpassing people's hearts, but these people in front of him have obviously been handled by him, so the next thing to do is not only very clear, it can even be said to be simpler. Naruto had already been put down and was forcibly taken away, so Yi Lin had no choice but to bring up the bosses on the next floor in advance, and just bring them up layer by layer, preventing them from going any further. In the next battlefield, this saves time and makes them no longer feel the end, so that they continue to fight until they die. The next boss to defend the city is the three classics of the wind. After the baptism of the previous ghosts, the current ninja coalition has actually created a strong spiritual type. They no longer have an instinctive fear of these guys. They have completely overcome their emotions and made themselves more tenacious, and because the guys I met before were all very powerful, and they were screened step by step, so now the ninja coalition forces left behind are all Elite Zero. Advertisement elites will no longer be afraid of such things. They will be very calm for the first time when they are faced with any kind of things. Although they will not be 100% calm, they can at least make themselves right at the emergence stage. The most correct thing for me. They don't know what the right things are, but at least they won't shout. Like the Ninja Alliance at the beginning, they are very immature, and 90% of the guys are rookies. They did not make much contribution into the coalition, but as the backbone, their purpose in the battlefield was to die. That's right, it's to die, and the battle is to fight more and less people. As long as the number of ninja coalition forces is large enough, then after launching a battle against the opponent, they will be able to surround them. Once any troop is surrounded, then basically it is not far from death, there is no possibility of escape, then it means death. This is a true name. However, this battlefield is actually not quite the same as their ninja world. On this battlefield, one person can kill all their coalition forces, but they will eventually be eliminated by some of their elites, but this is for them 2.6. In fact, it is almost a gap, and their meaning has been clearly expressed. Here Yikidanguru is not a mythical word, but a very common phenomenon. As long as they kill the ninja coalition, then the ninja coalition feels that there is no way to fight against them. 90% of the ninjas will be killed, and almost all of those 90% of the ninjas die are worthless. Even the intelligence is not hooked, it is very simple to die. Yi Lin knew that those ninjas were actually cannon fodder. He had no pity for the cannon fodder. Even if his subordinates killed all the ninja coalition forces, he would not feel anything wrong. One person was left to speak to their original village and let them submit to him. Yi Lin, Chapter 272. Guess the apartment. The third admiral under the ghost dancer, his strength is very strong, unlike other ghosts who use blood ghost techniques to attack, but use some physical techniques, such as some of his own hand-to-hand combat techniques use. He has short pink hair and dark blue tattoos all over his body. He admires the strong and hates the weak. Although he is a ghost, he is very disgusted with eating people. He is actually very moral. Unlike other ghosts, when they see human beings, they just think about how to kill them, how to eat them into their stomachs. He is very thirsty for some blood. This ghost is different. He has his own morality. He will eat people only when he is too hungry to bear, and is diligent in the creed of the strong. He will never kill a woman. The reason for this is because when he was a human being, he had no way to protect his relatives, especially a woman he once liked, but that woman was killed by some vicious human beings. After all human beings were killed, they were turned into ghosts. After turning into a ghost, it means that he has no choice. There is no way to become a human again, because if a person wants to become a ghost 06, it is very easy, just need to inject the blood of the ghost dance, but if you want to change from the ghost. When a ghost turns into a human, it needs to go through many twists and turns, and in the end, it may not even become a real human being. In the past he fought some well-known people, and when fighting with them, although they are very powerful, they are still pursuing the strongest, but because their will is getting stronger and stronger, they finally break through the boundaries of ghosts, and even the ghost dance that turns him into a ghost. There is no way to move the capital to get him. He also recovered himself as a human memory because of the memory of those who pursued the strong. When his head was regenerated, he was punched by others, and he realized that what he had destroyed was actually himself, that he had nothing to protect him from the beginning, and that it was not others who ended him in the end. It was self-defeating, and it was very dignified. If he doesn't commit suicide, then others can't help him. His self-recovery ability is the strongest among all ghosts, except for Ghost Dance. Gui Wu's power is naturally the most undeniable, because he is the ancestor of Gui Gui and has the strongest ghost power, but Sick Nest is not a simple role. Yi Lin even felt that if Kendozu and Gui Wuxin had a one-on-one duel, it would be hard to say the final winner. Because Wu Wazo has failed too many times in the end, and he regretted hating himself the most and broke through the boundaries of being a ghost. He has completely transcended the ghost and became an existence above the devil. In fact, it is already very scary for Gui Wuguo. Guys, the Ghost Dance Club can't help him at all, even if Shi Yun tried his best, there was no way to kill him completely. Advertisement, but leaving the seat can easily use his own physical skills, even if the other party can absorb his ghost ability. He can also use his most proud physical skills to use Yunlai. The opponent delivers the final blow. Physical damage can't be avoided by anyone. Although ghosts can self-death damage and in the late stage of the battle, even if any creature can resist them, they can quickly recover their own damage, but even so, they can still be damaged, as long as the damage area is strong enough. For example, they will feed them into pieces and throw them all over the world, so that they will not be able to reunite as a whole. But this is an inefficient method after all. If you want to be more efficient, you have to throw them in the sun. As long as they are in the sun, they have absolutely no way to continue to live. Also, because they are the deepest evil and the deepest evil, compared to the brightest sun, there is absolutely no way for them to be alive. The sun will eventually evaporate them. No matter how hard they struggle, it will have no effect. Even if the ancestor of ghosts had danced with ghosts, there was no way to do it. Of course, leaving her seat was no exception. Even if she escaped from ghosts, she still had no way to support herself from being seriously injured by the sun. Now that Yi Lin has sent him to the battlefield, he is thinking about the strength of Wazo. He should be able to push the ninja coalition into a corner, so he has already thought of how to appear at this time, should be more mysterious, or should be more fanciful, he fell into thinking. At the same time, the sick room has been thrown into the battlefield. When he was summoned on the battlefield as a puppet, because the sky was taking care of him, he was in complete darkness, even if other people could see it. Even in his appearance, there is still no way to change the sky. Because this battlefield is entirely his own, if he wants to completely turn the sky into day, then no one can stop him, but if he wants to stay in the dark all the time, then no one can affect him. Both are same thing. Yi Lin's design from the beginning was not to let any factors hinder them, so that they can fully devote themselves to the battle, and will not be obstructed by anyone. Even if the ninja coalition forces any ninjutsu that can shine, it doesn't work either. For him, he can interrupt them and kill him very fast at the moment when they admit defeat. Among all the ghosts, his speed should be the fastest, even if as the ancestor who knew him, there was absolutely no way to deal with him. There were 6 types of destruction and killing of his blood ghost technique, each of which was very amazing and terrifying. When the sky was getting dark, he finally came to this place, and like the last ghost, he also stood on the roof, but he didn't stand on it for a long time. After seeing his opponent, he walked down, because he was a melee type, a physique type fighter who could fight the world with 2 fists. Unlike the previous ghost, who can use genjutsu to numb the opponent's mind, he can only stand in front of the opponent and punch them in the face with a real fist, which may cause real damage to them. So he doesn't need to use too many tricks, he just needs to get closer to the other party slowly. He feels that the policeman is seeing his appearance, and even if he doesn't know who he is, he should have great fear. Chapter 273 The Smell. Like these guys, he can smell it from the smell, they actually have nothing to show off, and he has met countless times in his life. As a strong man, he is still challenging himself to become the strongest. Now he has a new enemy, and the purpose he advocates is that no matter what kind of enemy he encounters, he will try his best to kill him. Unless he encounters a powerful person like him, he will be tempted to recruit him and turn him into a ghost, just like the eldest brother of the ghost killing team, Yenju. It is because when he is fighting with the opponent, he feels that the opponent's strength is almost the same as his, but because he can have unlimited recovery methods, it can be repeated many times, even if the opponent kills him again and again, but as long as he succeeds once, then the other party will no longer have the strength to fight against him. This is his strength, but in fact he feels very shameful, because he feels that if he relies on this strength to defeat the opponent, it is actually equivalent to cheating and cheating and cheating. From the bottom of his heart, he hated this kind of fight. He felt that there was only a fair fight, and there was nothing to gain from the abilities of 2 people. Only in this way is the real battle of fighters. The so-called fighters always rely on real fists. Those who come to play rhyme, Every victory has to pay the price of blood, only in this way can Ji be called a real powerhouse. However, he is superior to the police because of his healing power. Even if the other party hacks him to death thousands of times, as long as he can kill the other party once, he can put the other party into a desperate situation. This is his ability, but he is not optimistic about this ability, nor does he hope that he has this ability, but if he did not have this ability, he may have died many times. He should also be grateful for this ability, because he admires the strong and is willing to challenge this character constantly. This ability of his allows him to come back infinitely. Now he finally encountered new enemies. He actually didn't know what abilities they had for these enemies, but it was obvious that many of these people actually had strong opponents. Because as early as when he came, he knew that the ghosts in front of him all died very miserably, and although these people have paid a lot of price, they still have some strength after all. Strength, then Wozu will not take it lightly, and will definitely try to defeat the opponent. Finally, when he was sure that the other party had seen him, he didn't cheat at all, he rushed up, flashed in front of a ninja at a very fast speed, and suddenly smashed his throat and threw it on the ground, aside. But before he dragged them to the place, the opponent already realized what he was trying to do. It was obvious that he wanted to drag the battle to a step in his favor, that is, to fight the opponent and himself one-on-one. In this way, if Liwazo were to divide the entire battlefield into small compartments, in fact, as he thought, some strong people would be trapped inside, and no matter how hard they struggled, they would not be able to rhyme. If you want to break through your own compartment, then you have to pay a lot of money, which is definitely unwise for them, and it also takes a long time, enough for the nests one by one, they were killed. Seeing this situation, Sasuke opened his Sharingan immediately. His Sharingan has now evolved into an eternal Sharingan. When he sees the other party, he can also use his own number to release some tricks to limit the other party's behavior. But it is very regrettable that even if he can see his body with his eyes, he can't keep up with the speed of his decision. Advertisement, but in fact, they thought too much, and what Wu Wazo thought was actually just wanting to fight a fair fight with the other party. If many of them beat him alone, in fact, he was not in vain. But this is not actually a glorious thing for a fair fight. In order to think for the other side morally, he will continue to let the other side and himself duel one-on-one. When others saw their companions being killed, they immediately rang the chair socket to launch an attack, but Wu Wuzu's movements were too fast, no one could keep up with his speed, and everyone was at this moment used behind him. Lee's. But where will Wu Gongzo let them succeed? This is his territory. If he can't have the final say in his own territory, then I'm really ridiculous. But there are still some people who can follow him. Those people are some of the faster ninjas in the ninja world. Who are they? Wu Wuzu doesn't know, but he knows that if he wants to fight now, then probably only these people can fight him with some decent. So he started dragging them to a suitable place to start a 1v1 duel with each other. Because this is borrowed from Yi Lin's power, Yi Lin himself uses this battlefield where fantasy becomes reality. On this battlefield, almost everything he creates is invincible, and no one can defeat it, But this is completely different from what the Ninja Alliance thinks. They will not let their companions fight against each other alone. As a result, they all rushed over, trying to completely surround the seat. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Although he is already a leader among ninjas, he still releases ninjutsu with rhyme, and there is no way to achieve the speed he needs. The other party flashes directly and instantly when he sees ninjutsu, and will not give him any room for counterattack. Only in this case, they would have no way to deal with him, and they would be wiped out by him one by one, which would be very detrimental to their strength. This time, the writing writer gained a lot of confidence, and he began to despise the people in front of him, feeling that these people were nothing more than that, but they were so weak that they couldn't even keep up with his speed, so how could he fight him like this? So he used his own thoughts to completely divide the entire battlefield, divided into several parts, and divided the ninjas that he thought were more powerful, the only ninjas who could keep up with his speed, into separate battlefields. After finally separating everyone, Wu Wozu finally began to respond to the challenge. This time, not all of them challenged him to a boss, but he challenged him one by one to find powerful ninjas one by one. Don't worry about physical strength. The problem of consumption. Their ghosts have no physical consumption from the beginning. Even if they are killed infinitely, they can be resurrected infinitely without any conditions, unless they encounter the situation of sunlight. Advertisement Chapter 274 The strong kill the weak. If they are irradiated by strong sunlight, they will have a severe burning sensation all over their bodies, and their bodies will gradually be vaporized, and those parts that are vaporized will no longer be able to revive, just like ice cubes. The part that had melted under the sun would never be able to find Akatsuki again, but it was impossible to have such a situation here. The entire battlefield was up to him, and no one could stop him. Therefore, Wu Wazo also wanted to take this opportunity to solve his own wind wishes one by one over the years. Dealing with the strong and killing the weak is a very interesting thing for him. He thinks it is good to do so, so he will always do it. Even if the ghost dance comes to stop him, it will have no effect. No one can do anything about it. Stop him. And he also got his wish, successfully pulling everyone into his own design, so that in the next period of time, he can have a hearty battle, thinking about it, so he started one by one. Entering those compartments is as he thought. As long as he enters those compartments, then the other party will have a considerable sense of fear for him, and some people will even be scared to death on the spot. 500 This has often happened in the past. He has also seen it with his own eyes. Like in the past, some people have said that they are right about ghosts. They have no feeling at all. After the appearance, he was quickly defeated, and he no longer dared to make irresponsible remarks. This is not because he is too demonic, but because he has some rushing natural gas from the beginning to the end. Those suffocating chi can make it impossible for the other party to do some secret calculations on him, because everyone was scared the first time they saw him. Even the battle can't be completed well. If that's the case, then there is no need to waste energy to kill them, because he feels that those guys are not worthy of him to do it, and let him do it. Is the strongest of the strong. Because he feels that since he is already a strong man, if others say that he is not worthy of his power, then what is the need to do something to them? So after entering the first cubicle, he began to look at the other side and looked them up and down. If the other side looked weak, then he went directly to the next cubicle, AGCG. For this compartment, he won't even waste any more of his experience, even for a second. However, everything was not as simple as he thought, and it was totally different from what he thought. When he entered the first compartment, he saw one, which looked very weak, but there was no the guy who managed to get him out of this cubicle. The guy was wearing a tights and had a nunchuck in his hand. His hair was watermelon heads, and he looked very dumb, just because of his behavior, and Han is stupid, so he looks very spiritual. Advertisement as before, I went up to the seat and went through a procedure first. Instead of reporting to the door immediately, I went up and tried a trick or two. Immediately rushed up and punched the opponent's bread with a punch, but the opponent's reaction speed was also very fast. The moment the opponent hit him, he immediately raised his hand to block his face, and easily took this one. He didn't even shake his body slightly. He felt that the other party was just a small test, and the fact is that it was true. The riding seat really didn't use any kind of strength. The move just now can't really be called an attack, only it could be said to be a trial. And this also allowed him to roughly estimate the depth of the opponent. The opponent's strength should not be very weak, and it is even possible to have some strength competition with him, so he began to respect the opponent. Okay, my name is Sick Leave, what is your name? He asked so, and the other party was also very generous, showing his thumb. He is not complimenting the other party, but he is very moved when he sees the other party's talk of martial arts. Because there are not many enemies who talk about martial arts and virtue now, either insidious or cunning, using all kinds of indiscriminate means to seriously injure police officers. He has suffered such a loss before, but he still believes that there are still enemies who talk about martial arts in this world, and the one in front of him is obviously, so he happily reported his name. My name is Might Guy, a ninja from Konoha village. Please advise, Might Guy. Wu Wozu said, bowing deeply to the other party, which is considered a courtesy to the other party. He has always respected his opponents so much, even if they don't respect him, he still respects them very much, because he sees them based on their strengths. But if the opponent is weak, even if he is respectful, he will kill the opponent mercilessly, and look down on the opponent from the bottom of his heart. Advertisement. He is such a strong man. As long as the opponent is strong enough, even if he does anything excessive, Gu Wazo can be forgiven, because he can fully understand what the strong man thinks. In this world, as long as you are strong enough, you can do whatever you want, and this is the passport to the world. In their eyes, a very powerful force is the solution to any problem by opening up various channels in the world. After showing respect to the other party, seeing that Might Guy also returned the salute to him, which was even different from his etiquette, he suddenly had some good feelings for the other party, and even wanted to show mercy. If such a person can be his friend, it is a pleasure, but it depends on whether he has the strength to become his friend. Wu Wozu will not admit the weak, so after bowing and expressing his respect, he immediately launched an attack. His body disappeared instantly and Rhyme appeared in front of Might Guy. This attack is far different from the previous one. A speed and power are quite terrifying. Blood Ghost Art Destruction Kill. Wu Wozu shouted, and suddenly a punch slammed into Might Guy's face, which was very fast. Even Might Guy couldn't completely block the gap, but it was not his who hit him, cheeks, but his arms. However, even so, he didn't have enough strength to catch this move and his body suddenly retreated, almost falling to the ground. This made him fully understand that the guy in front of him was definitely not an ordinary person. His strength was enough to kill him. Death, if this is the case, then the killer can no longer be hidden and tucked away. If he waits for a while, then he may not even be able to open his killer first. Chapter 275 8 Inner Gates. So after seeing that the other party is not weak, my guy immediately opened the 8 inner gates. Of course, it will not open the door to death instantly, but the 5th door of the 5th gate of the 8 inner gates is a stage of the 8 inner gates iconic door. As long as this door is opened, then the whole body can mobilize all the chara in any part at will, and can make them gushing out like a flood, making an incomparably huge release outside, so as long as if the other party dares to approach him, he will definitely be attacked by his chara. And because the amount of chara's flood discharge is very large, the opponent may also be killed by him because of such a simple move. Might Guy didn't want to hurt the other party, he wanted to kill the other party, because he knew that if he didn't kill him now, the people at the next level would probably suffer. This person is obviously not a good thing for a guy who is easily dealt with. If there is no way to kill him or drag him to exhaustion, it is almost a very disappointing thing. The person in the next compartment is likely to be killed because of this guy, and Might Guy doesn't want to kill more people because of his failure, so even if he burns his own life, he will destroy the other party exhausted. This is exactly what he realized as a Konoha ninja. Ever since he put on his forehead guard, he has never thought about running away, he has always thought about how to face it. Ever since his father was real, he never planned to let himself lose to the police. He understands that if he fails, he can't bear the cruel consequences at all, so all he can do is to keep winning, keep throwing fists at each other until the opponent is knocked to the ground, and there is no way he can do anything to his relatives. Friends start. The true meaning of Konoha is protection. Might Guy has always put this word in his heart. For him, protecting his younger generation is more important than his own life. If he said that his back was threatened with life, then his senior was actually a failure. What he has always looked down on are some seniors who abandoned their backs. If they were seniors and didn't think about how to take care of their juniors, then it would be considered a very failure in this life. After opening 8 Dunjia, the momentum of Might Guy suddenly changed, as if he had changed into a person. He suddenly seemed to be very powerful. Even if the speed of the opponent's hooks became faster, there was no way to deal with him. Cause any threat. Advertisement. His current speed can't be said to be far, at least not inferior to the opponent, and he can fight back and forth with the opponent, but this is only half of 8 inner gates strength, that's all. If Might Guy wants to kill each other, then he will open the final 8 inner gates, and the final 8 inner gates are so powerful that even the strongest guy in the ninja world can't resist. Looking at the current battle situation, Yi Lin knows it. He knows how strong Might Guy is and also knows that Huzo is about to face a very powerful opponent. He was killed by the other party, but it doesn't really matter. Yi Lin has already thought about what to do next. He will not let his movie go on. If the sickbed seat really falls, then he will immediately send the next person to replace him with the strength of the next person, and it will never be lower than him. In this case, let's wait and see. Yi Lin has nothing to say. When he switched to this eye, Might Guy's every move was finally able to make him see clearly. He looked carefully and found that Might Guy had the upper hand at this time, but he still couldn't see the other side, pushed into a corner. The bonus that this door brings to him is very terrifying. He can make himself set on fire and release a very strong flame attack, and the principle of the flame attack is also very simple. The hook fires the flames to the opponent's body. 000. Ask for flowers. At this moment, Might Guy's power has become more powerful, but it is not enough to kill the opponent. Although he wants to kill the opponent fiercely overnight, he is always close to it. Seeing that the opponent was beaten to the point that he couldn't get up, he suddenly saw the opponent suddenly resurrected and reincarnated like a zombie in the next second. With this pride in his heart, Might Guy opened the next door, the 6th door, one by one. And the person next to him happens to be his former golden partner, or his eternal opponent, Kakashi. Advertisement. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. No matter how the other party targets him, he will not put himself into a desperate situation. On the contrary, he will even take back his advantages. In terms of physical skills, there is no one in this world that belongs to him. Opponent. Although Wu Wozu highly advocates fighting, the current battle has made him feel very anxious, and he even feels that he may die here, because his recovery ability has no way to recover as quickly as it did at the beginning. Now, for some reason, his power is getting weaker and weaker. Mangekyo Sharingan and ordinary Sharingan are not at the same stage at all. His inside ability is very strong. No matter how sinister and nasty tricks the other party uses in front of him, he can easily see through them, which is equivalent to sharp eyes. But he still believed that Might Guy was strong enough to kill each other, and since they were fighting too fast, Kakashi had to open his Sharingan to see it clearly. But he still missed a lot of details. The speed of the other party was too fast to be recognized, so Kakashi had no choice but to upgrade his Sharingan again to Mangekyo Sharingan. Kakashi was a little surprised when he saw Might Guy and the doghouse fight for a while. He didn't expect that the opponent's first choice was actually Might Guy, not him Kakashi. The Kennel Seed didn't expect that the other party could actually use such a technique, so he didn't know how to parry for a while, so he could only flee in a hurry, dodging everywhere. The scene was weird and scary for a while, but Might Guy is used to it and he won't be scared anymore. However, Might Guy would not give him a chance to dodge. He aimed again and again until the surrounding walls were completely destroyed. He hooked everyone around him. The flame was attached to Zara, which was equivalent to hooking Zara and gathering it in his hand. Chapter 276. There must be a quick resolution, and he understands that this is the only way. However, he didn't know that Yi Lin did everything behind his back. Yi Lin knew that Might Guy was a killer trump card of the Ninja Coalition. If they even used the last trump card easily, then the next battle there's no way to fight. Might Guy can't die in this kind of place, so he can't be allowed to open the door to death. But he completely underestimated Wu Wozuo's consciousness. Even if Wu Gongzou's own strength was weakened, he would never step back half a point. He had not seen such an opponent who could make him tremble with excitement for a long time. The last time he fought against him, the Yenju once made him feel that he wanted to pull the other party into his own camp, but due to his limited ability to persuade and the fact that the other party's consciousness was 50-0, is too firm, and he has no way to successfully win over the other party, which is the one thing he regrets the most. He also has no choice. At this moment, although he wants to pull him into the camp he has joined, he understands that this is impossible. Since the other party has reached this point, it is quite because they will never give up their lives. At least they will not give up easily, they will definitely struggle to the death. Then move on to the next battlefield. Wu Wozu will not let them walk down a battlefield at will, so he must put all these people here. Even if the guy in front of him is stronger than him, he will not be so easy. Just let go. Blood Ghost Art, Destruction and Killing Type 2. He shouted loudly, and the strength of his body increased again. At this moment, even the blood of the injected vampires in his body boiled, as if it had reached the boiling point. Might Guy also noticed the other party's strangeness, and he found that the other party's offensive was even more violent than Ganglion. Only at this time he understood that the other party was actually the same person as him, all relying on conquest power to achieve the purpose of strengthening himself. Advertisement, then the rest will be easier. Might Guy didn't think too much about it, he immediately opened the 7th type of the 8 Dunjia one by one scene. The power of this door will become more powerful, and the speed will also be significantly improved, and it is the closest to the 8th door. In this door that is close to the door of death, he can do many things, but after using it, he will be paralyzed by the power of this door, but at least he will not die. After using this door, all the chara on his body was suddenly released, like a raging flame, suddenly running through the entire battlefield. The momentum suddenly rose, and it shot into the sky like a beam of light, broke through the whole world in an instant, making everyone feel fear for his outbreak. What a terrible power this is. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The airwaves on his body suddenly intensified, as if the entire battlefield was about to collapse. Might Guy suddenly rushed to the doghouse seat. Might 2.6 Guy used the 7th gate, the chara on his body rushed out, and launched the hook chakrapo to the ground, and the powerful chara impact was derived from his powerful strength. But on another level, this also made him feel very difficult. Although he didn't want to fight with the opponent to be indistinguishable, but in the current situation, it seemed that there was such a thing to do, and he immediately resorted to the 3rd form of destruction, and killing strengthened his own power by 1 point. Might Guy's 7th gate is extraordinary, because the 7th gate is completely different from the previous gates. Most of the previous gates will hurt your body or something, but the 7th gate only needs to be opened, then you will make your body unable to move for a long time, although it is almost equivalent to paralysis for a ninja. Tiger, advertisement. Everyone watched helplessly as Might Guy was fighting the nest. With such a move, he suddenly made a hook downward, and the sweat on his body condensed and evaporated into an airwave, and then rushed towards the front. Although it was an airwave evaporated by sweat, it was also very strong. If you can't even pass this one level, then what about the next level? So the guy in front of him still has to be defeated by him. As long as he defeats it, then other ninjas can give it to the next level, abandon it, if so. At the moment when his power appeared, everything around him was shattered, and no one was not terrified by his move, because his power was so terrifying. But in the current situation, he has to use it. If he doesn't use the 7th gate now, then they will face a more cruel challenge next. Not only can't fight with each other, but also it may also be completely silenced by the other party. Wu Wo looked at the scene in front of him. He did not expect that there would be such a powerful force, that the policeman would be able to use such a powerful trick as Yun. He had never seen such a trick before, which also made him he felt worthy of the trip. If you die, you will have nothing. Meng said that if you continue to carry out the mission, even if you continue to fight, it is impossible. Guy doesn't want to release his 7th door so quickly, but who can tell clearly what's the next level? And this strengthening can be said to have reached his strongest state. If he continues to fight, he may not be able to fight the opponent to the death, but in this way, he will not taste the battle with the strong. Fun too. Several waves of air smashed into the face of the rider, causing the body to be dismembered again and again, but he would rely on his tenacious vitality to fully recover. He believes that Kakashi will be able to lead the Ninja Alliance to break out of the siege. As long as the siege is cleared, then everything can come back again, because they have not hurt their bones and bones, but the Ninja Alliance is not doubtful now, but there is still a certain of strength. But this is related to the real paralysis. There is still a certain area police. Even if Guy is forced to, he will not open the 7th door, because the price of the 7th door is too high, which is equivalent to directly sending him to the hospital. Lie down for a few days, so he usually doesn't use it during normal times. When it hit the ground, it shattered all the compartments on the ground and put everyone on the ground. Chapter 277 Ghost Blood. This is his life force as a ghost. As a ghost, the blood flowing on his body can completely sew it away with any injury, as if he had never been hurt before. This is a very buggy skill. Other people will almost give up the fight once they face him, but Might Guy is different. As a ninja of Konoha, he will never give up so easily. Even if he burns all his vitality, he will not give up easily. This is exactly his ninja, the ninja that he has been insisting on since he was a child. The battle continued to a white-hot state, and the nest seat still did not die, and continued to persist with very strong vitality. Although he is now completely on the weak side, he will not be oppressed by the enemy anyway. Others see this scene and understand that no matter what kind of power Guy uses, the other party will not care, because there are infinite opportunities to revive and come back. As long as the resurrection comes back, then there will never be any chance for the other party to beat 06 and them back to their smashed state. Although other people don't know what his weakness is, they know that Might Guy can't be allowed to continue. Once he continues, his body can't take it anymore. It will definitely be paralyzed. Once paralyzed, then the next journey will not be able to walk at all. So they started shouting at Might Guy, telling him to stop fighting, and protect his body, but at this time Might Guy has already made up his mind. Since he is Konoha's senior, he will never let his back suffer any bit of damage, even if it burns his life out. As for the back, whether it will drag his younger generation back, he has completely thought about it. After using this move, if there is still no way to kill the opponent, then he will use the last door, and also it is the last dead door of 8 inner gates, the dead door. As the name implies, it is to operate one's body to a deadly state and burn all one's own strength to obtain extremely powerful strength, which is equivalent to overdrawing one's own vitality. This kind of power was previously classified as a forbidden technique, because I didn't want the dreamer to start a meaningless death after learning it, and I didn't want people to appear in the consciousness of death. However, this trick was eventually learned by others, went out. Although this trick is because no one is stupid enough to sacrifice their own life in exchange for such a strong power, it is equivalent to a life-saving straw for some ninjas who have no talent but still have light in their hearts. It can support them to go on, a very stable move. That trick is called ninjutsu. Ninjutsu is mainly based on chakra burning, but it is mainly based on physical attacks, causing good damage to the opponent. In this way, ninjutsu sounds very unwilling to learn. In the past few years, this technique has been seldom learned since it was invented, but it still has a certain effect, at least one if all the power is used to hook, to be able to increase one's strength by tens of thousands of times is to burn all of one's life in just a few seconds. Advertisement: if a person condenses his life into 10 seconds, then how terrifying his power will be, no one knows, and no one has been able to do it since ancient times. Although there is one man who has done it, he is Might Guy's father, Might Day. But Might Day's experience is behind, sealed in the archives. No one in Konoha knows or even knows that this person exists, just like a person who died silently without any love. Although he is the hero of Konoha, he has not been affected by any fame except entering the tomb of the hero. Might Guy also received little support. From childhood to adulthood, he has climbed up step by step with his own efforts. Even if he has reached such a high level now, he has not been able to successfully imitate his father and burn his life for the sake of the village. But this opportunity is about to come up now, and it is right in front of him. Might Guy knows that if he backs down now, he will regret it for the rest of his life. So since he has decided, he will never change it again. After seeing his 7th door, there was no way to completely kill the sick nest. He immediately opened the door of death, as if he had no hesitation, as if he had already prepared the consciousness of mortal death. Might Guy finally said something to Kakashi: "You must rush out with everyone." Dead door. So Guy unconcernedly opened the door to death and decided to make a last-ditch effort. Could it be that he is finally going to hook his own ultimate stunt? He thought. Advertisement: the seat on the side of the chair felt a subtle change in things, and the guy in front of him seemed to be a bit stronger than before. The master knew him well and had been encouraging him since he became genin, telling him not to give up. He also kept working hard, and soon became the same as his master. 500. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Looking at the other party, as expected, the momentum on Might Guy's body was completely different. The blood on his body from the previous 7th gate had completely boiled, and red airwaves evaporated. All the people around noticed his strangeness and shouted in surprise. They discouraged, but it was still a step too late. At the same time, he finally smiled at his beloved disciple Luo Li and some other companions. Luo Li was already in tears at this time, but still respected the master's decision. The kennel seat took a closer look, but only saw a red wave of air rushing towards him, but there was still no way to find the other party's trace. Absolutely not. Might Guy, suddenly, like a giant dragon hooking the world, his power is like a surging flood. He shouted, and rushed the kennel seat at great speed. It's just that when he finally found out where the other party was, it was already too late. The opponent's extremely powerful punch has completely hit his chest, and all the bones and blood on his body collapsed by 3 points, as if to completely shatter his soul. Now that the master has gone one step ahead of him, he will continue to follow the master's teachings and continue to complete the task of protecting Konoha. Chapter 278: The Elephant Knight Gai Shishiang Yakai. This trick is a trick that no one who has used 8 inner gates in the past has learned. It can be said that it was created by Might Guy. He didn't actually have any detailed information about this trick from the beginning, but when he practiced to the end, he found that this trick could be used easily, because the power it covered was all 8 inner gates in previous dynasties. All users can't use Yunlai, and only Hiji can use it. Because in the long history of the ninja world, Might Guy is the most profound one of 8 inner gates ninjutsu research. The reason why he said this was because of the level of his cultivation. No one could compare with him, not even his father, Might Dai. Although his father once fought with the 7 ninja swordsmen, he finally opened the door of death, but everyone's door of death is different. Someone did turn on death before and let the famous Uchiha Madara see it with his own eyes, and it felt very strange, but there should be no waves in the end, so it didn't attract Uchiha Madara's attention in the end. However, now the dead gate of 8 inner gates has been carried forward by Might Guy, and researched to the highest level. It is even more difficult to break through, because 8 inner gates only has 8 gate. After breaking through to the dead gate, is there any door 9? No one knows. It's just because the door of death opened after the trial of the predecessors, it will cause the body to produce a terrifying load beyond ordinary people, and no one can withstand this load. After they are activated, they will definitely fall into death and have no way to be resurrected, but there are other possibilities. For example, some users of 8 inner gates modify their body structure, just like Orochimaru transforms their bodies into an invincible state. Once these bodies are used up, they will find a police container and transfer their souls into them, so as to become human again. In this way, you can guarantee that you can use it again for the second time after using the 8 inner gates. Advertisement in this case, as if it can be used infinitely, there is no way to stop him. However, this is not a good thing, because if you want to use 8 inner gates infinitely, then you have to find more containers to go around, and only those containers can continue, like changing batteries, just like changing your own body into another person's body. If you use 8 inner gates and open the door of death, you will have no way to survive, and if you can't survive, you will have to replace your body, and the cost of replacing your body is very high, expensive, and not something that ordinary people can easily replace. Might Guy wouldn't use this method because it's fundamentally different from who he is. As long as he wants to do it, he can definitely do it successfully, but he doesn't want to do it, because he feels that in the current world, only being a fair person can live peacefully with others, and the others are only some those who are determined to be evil will be killed by other people after all, so this is not in line with his character. No matter how cost-effective he is, he will not do it, and he will not even think about it. And if others did, he would be regarded as some horrible and evil guy. For the evil guy, as a ninja of Konoha, he must resolutely get rid of it, and will not give him any chance to fight back. The palace seat in front of him is not actually equivalent to such an evil enemy. He is just standing on the opposite side of himself. Although he looks very polite and respects him, this is not the case. Not the reason why he can live. What Wu Wazo thinks is not only to kill the other party, Lee's, but more importantly to gain the respect of the other party. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. In the wars he has experienced over the years, large and small, although he has also experienced some enemies in his team, compared to his own people, he is more moral and loved, but since he stands if he is on the opposite side of himself, and takes up a weapon to fight with himself, then he should be killed by himself. Riding the seat now is an example of never giving in. He doesn't want to fall into the hands of Might Guy, so he struggles desperately. Even if he does his best, he doesn't want to make the other person feel comfortable. When he saw Might Guy go out of the gate and burn his life force to the strongest, as a ghost, Wu Wazo saw the red airwaves burning on his body, and he knew that he put the blood on his body to burn up the source. Advertisement, but Wu Wazo did not give him such a chance. In order to support one's own companions, it is bound to sacrifice some insignificant things, such as the other party's emotions. He believes that surrender and failure are both disrespect for the other party, especially for the strong. He has always respected the strong, and fears the strong. If the strong wants to kill it, then he will fight to the death, and in the end, if he is not defeated, it is very comfortable to die in his hands. Although this is a very unacceptable Madonna plot, he still represents the values of most people today. If everyone thinks this way, then the world will become very peaceful, so does Might Guy thought so. If Might Guy does not let him die, then the other party will never continue to communicate with him friendly, but the current apartment is not a peace-loving person at all. What he is good at is aggression, although the aggression the reason is very nonsense, is to make strong friends. Although it sounds very perverted, dying in the hands of the police, such a perverted word, it is still the whole idea of the doghouse today. No one can control him, not even him, neither did the previous owner. If he never gives in, this is the pure mortal type. In fact, Might Guy had this feeling before, but he finally gave up. The enemy is the enemy. And Might Guy believes that if he wants to survive, then he doesn't need to pay attention to what kind of justice or morality. It is not a just thing for ignorant pursuit of a strong person to kill the opponent in the end, because although the opponent is cruel and ruthless, he also has feelings. If you let him go at the end, he will be grateful to you. Become so boiling and terrifying. Chapter 279 Never Back Down. But Gu Wazo wouldn't back down, instead he was even more excited. Not bad, good momentum, looks like you're ready. As he said that, he clenched his fists and placed them in front of him. At the same time, the aura on his body suddenly increased tremendously, and he developed all his strength. This is the master's will he has always mastered as a strong man, that is, no matter how strong the opponent is, he will follow with how strong the fighting spirit is. This is an extremely terrifying power and an extremely terrifying skill. Most people will feel timid for a moment after seeing his fighting spirit suddenly become stronger, but at this time, Might Guy has already grasped the consciousness of mortal death, and opening the door of death means that with death. What kind of ending could be more cruel than death? He felt like there was no more. But the current battle has entered the white-hot stage. If he doesn't go all out, he will be beaten to death by the opponent. Even if he fights to the death with the consciousness of mortal, he will end up with him in the end. In fact, although it is the final outcome of the death door, it is inevitable, but he must destroy the other party before he dies. If he can't destroy the other party, then what is waiting for him has already failed. But he is still dead, just like his own father. When my father faced a crowd of 7 people who had to endure 500 knives, although he said that he was fighting to the death, he still only injured 4 of them and released the other 3. This can be said to be a victory, but in fact, it is a failure to some extent. If there is no complete victory, it is a failure, and even if you are victorious, you cannot be called a hero. Because once the other 3 escaped, they would definitely make a comeback, and at that time they said they would be more prepared. And the wars that will be provoked by that time will be even more brutal, so if everything is not resolved before the end of the dead, then everything will be over. Might Guy knows this truth, so he will never let the opponent have such a chance to fight back. Advertisement, he will not let the other party escape, he will definitely do his best, so this is his peak state. But Sick House doesn't think so. Although he has stimulated all the power in himself and has burned to a certain extent, he still won't die, and he feels that the other party will not kill him. Because the opponent's aura is strong, but he is immortal after all, even if he kicks all his internal organs to pieces, he will definitely not die. This is his advantage. Although he used to say that he was not ashamed of this advantage, he felt very ashamed, and there was no way to die peacefully with the opponent. But now that I think about it, it's still a pretty good skill. He fought against the opponent, and the opponent did not kill him with all his might, but he could rack his brains. Even if he fought to the last finger, he could kill the opponent, and at the same time, his body could slowly recover. Once he recovers, he can continue to challenge the next powerhouse. In the process of challenging the powerhouse, he is most enthusiastic. He does not know what the dead world will be like. If there is no strong power in that world and he has no consciousness at all, so he might as well satisfy his wish as much as possible while he is still alive, and challenge the invincible in the world. Even if no one can completely conquer him, this is the best life he wants, and he has been eager to do it. But where in the world could there be someone as eccentric and weird as him? If the Might Guy at this time sat together drinking tea and playing the piano while chatting, and talking about each other's will, after all, he would feel that each other was some kind of demon. Might Guy will be looked down upon by the scumbag. What protects Konoha? He doesn't understand what those guys have to protect, but they are just some guys who are vassals in real life, and those guys can actually be replaced, even if they become AGCG. Ghosts can also create countless more servants for their own use. Even if he kills the one in front of him, the one behind him will still be waiting for him, and the one behind him is stronger than the one in front, so he is like a perpetual motion machine. He was eventually used by his master and turned into a machine that only knew how to kill. But he didn't. He went out, and at the moment when his thistle went, everyone died, and the things he guarded were gone at the same time, and his heart was broken. Advertisement, so he thought about getting rid of everything that hindered him and killing everyone. And although he also took revenge and killed them too, but he was eventually attacked by revenge and turned into an evil ghost who only knew how to fight. And Might Guy will understand what this guy thinks and what he wants to do when he is watching the service, but he is just dismissive of his creed. If there were no people, there would be no strife in the world, and that was his solution, as he has always done. So when he sees the most powerful person, he will also feel excited, because he knows that if he solves this enemy, then there will be no one who can hurt him again. If you can't protect your own people and relatives, what's the use of living in the world in the end? What's the difference between a person and the Walking Dead if he has nothing to protect? However, the strong one after another will never be cut off. If he killed the policeman, or made a choice in advance when he found that he had a certain disagreement with the other party, and chose to stay to protect his own person, would he be able to avoid such a thing from happening? Is it really a beautiful life to live without burning up all the value in oneself before dying? Might Guy is the hottest ninja in Konoha. He was instilled by his father from the very beginning that he must shine for the village. With such a bright idea, he will always feel that he must fight for the village, even if he has to sacrifice himself in the end, own life. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Although Sick Wing Zuo didn't do this, he knew that he could. The moment he left you, his people and the woman he liked were all killed by some guy. But Sick Woozer is different from him at all. Wu Wuzo is actually the same as him, and he also has someone he wants to protect, and he has sworn a poisonous oath, but his poisonous oath has not been fulfilled in the end. Chapter 280 The True Truth. It is still done today and it is regarded as the truest truth. The turbulent airwaves were steaming beside him, Might Guy and Yan Wozu fought each other, and the incomparably terrifying power exploded beside him. Landslides and tsunamis, the ground trembled as if the entire battlefield was about to be overturned. What a terrible battle this is. At this moment, the five shadows stared at this scene, not daring to say a word, not breathing when they let out the air. They have never seen such a terrifying scene, even the most tragic battle they have experienced since they were born. It is not as terrifying as the battle in front of them. Instead of fighting on the ground, they flew directly into the air, setting off a thrilling battle scene in the air. Everyone stared blankly, everyone thought blankly, waiting for a period of time when they could insert themselves, but they couldn't find the gap no matter how hard they looked. Their battle was really too anxious. And because they are evenly matched, and the combat impact caused by such a huge force is so unprecedented. So wisely, they will never step forward, even if you didn't plan to fight against each other, but right now they don't have any choice, because they know that if they don't stand behind them at this moment and wait for Might Guy to destroy each other, then they actually have no way to stop each other. Might Guy, who is now mortal, was killed. To put it 10,000 steps back, even if they succeeded in rescuing Might Guy, the end of Might Guy would be nothing but death in the end. So let Might Guy use his residual heat, he can definitely beat the other side, they believe so. And Might Guy didn't live up to their hopes. Before the last blow, Shishangye Guy, he and the opponent were inseparable. Advertisement. The opponent's strength is far beyond his imagination, and he also knows that unless the opponent's body is torn apart, they will have absolutely no way to compete with the opponent. But this is easy to say, but it is so difficult to do. There is really no other way. Might Guy can only break his own taboo, and use the last trick to rhyme, that is, the real Shishangye Guy. The aura of his body suddenly condensed, as if he had suddenly contained all his chara. He concentrated all his strength on himself, no longer released it, and at the same time increased his loss of action ability, squatted down in a running position and rushed forward at the same time, like a chariot with full horsepower. No one can stop him, he will destroy everything in front of him. With such a terrifying power, he lifted the ground in front of him and concentrated all the power in his body. Now it seems that even the world can't resist his power, he thought, and the speed also getting faster and faster, and finally jumping up and kicking the wolf seat. At this time, the riding seat looked at the increasingly powerful pressure in front of him. His body was like a toothpick in the wind, and he couldn't stand more and more. He knew that if he was kicked, he would really be in trouble, but he would never back down, because he had already made a decision. Might Guy's footsteps were getting faster and faster, and the last kick finally kicked Lu Wuzo. Suddenly, a dragon roar sounded, and everyone was shocked to see the scene in front of them. They couldn't help but feel that Might Guy was a real powerhouse, because the power covered by this move was simply too powerful, and the 5 shadows were ashamed, especially Hokage Tsunade. Although she is expensive as a Sannin, she still does not have the ability of the Jonin in front of her. She knows that once she stops making progress, she will definitely be surpassed by her younger generation, and by that time everything will be subverted. Raikage was even more impressed with Might Guy. As expected of Konoha's ninjas, when I led Cloud Shinobi to fight against them, even if I tried my best, I didn't take any advantage of them, because each of them had such a high fighting spirit, so how can power not be called a mighty country? Tsuchikage Onobi nodded in agreement. It's true, our rock shadows are the same, even if we fight wits and courage with them, we will end up slightly inferior. After all, it's because we don't have a mortal determination like this. Advertisement 0. For flowers. Hearing this, Mizukage also chimed in. You are all right, but although I have not participated in your war, compared to now, I think our Kirikan ninja village must have the right to speak. Because we know that we are actually bystanders. What we have seen is even more impressive, and we also feel that this ninja called Might Guy has actually transcended the ninja world and has become an extremely glorious and noble existence. He will burn his own life, interpret an immortal legend for yourself. Listening to their words, Gaara, who was on the side, didn't say much, but secretly cheered for Might Guy in his heart, hoping that he could get rid of the kennel seat. Although it is true that they can't help much now, but in the current situation, the only one who can help Might Guy is himself. Only he can use such a powerful force, and no one else can do their best even if they do their best. Follow in his footsteps. At this moment, even if they saw Might Guy's actions, they couldn't help him in any way. This is a very regrettable thing, but there is nothing to say, because it is the superiority obtained by Might Guy burning his life alone, and no one can stop this superiority, and no one can slander it. It is so fiery and powerful, no matter who stands in front of him, he will definitely be wiped out by his justice and power. He is a true defender, all defenders are glorious and great. Protecting his loved ones and being amazing is the right thing to do, and no one can make irresponsible remarks about him. In the end, when Shishangyagai finished releasing, the giant dragon finally slammed into Uwazuo's body, and devoured it completely as if it opened a huge mouth, taking him to the barrier behind him. Superior. Everyone would think that the enchantment would collapse immediately because of the incomparable power of Might Guy. But what they didn't expect was that the enchantment didn't move at all. Not only that, even the slightest tremor did not occur, and it was still so stable. Loss. Chapter 281 How strong is it? This made the ninja coalition feel extremely desperate, and this terrible power did not shock him, so how strong is the person who finally designed this enchantment? And this guy called Wu Wazo is just a teenager in his hands. But the happy thing is that the doghouse has finally died. Because the body has been completely dismembered, and shattered into dust and annihilated, there is no way for him to return to his original appearance. In this way, he died without flinching under the foot of Might Guy. As a fighter, Might Guy has great respect for him after his kick. Because this person didn't dodge in the slightest. Although it was said that the opponent could not dodge with this kick, but because the opponent did not back down, this move was enough to completely injure him. It can be said that he has taken all the damage, and there is no evasion. Maybe in his heart he also wanted to die like this, Might Guy thought. No one could accept such a bad life. He always wanted to challenge the strongest. Probably because of this reason, he wanted to die honorably like a warrior. Not only him, but Might Guy too. Might Guy finally closed his eyes and fell to the ground. His body was pitch black, as if he had been badly burned by the fire. Because he turned all the blood on his body into the fuel of chara. The reason why he said that he had overdrawn his vitality was precisely because of this reason, and the red dragon was burning because of his bright red blood. No one can live without blood, not to mention that what Might Guy has lost at this moment is not only blood, but also his body that was severely burned by the airwaves that he burned. His body no longer has any vitality at this time, and every cell in his body has been severely burned. He is now a wreckage without any vitality at all. If anyone can bring him back to life, then I must be an existence comparable to Sage of Six Paths, an existence that can resurrect any dead person, and an invincible person comparable to legends. Advertisement, but that person has no rhyme at all. Even the Jinchuriki who have tailed beasts in their bodies have absolutely no way to do such a thing. Might Guy simply fell to the ground, and the other ninja allied forces rushed up immediately, trying to save Might Guy before his vitality completely disappeared. But when they rushed to her side, they found that he had completely died, and he no longer had the slightest vitality. Even Tsunade, known as the master of the ninja world, couldn't cure it. When the big Katsuyu of the hook she summoned covered him, there was no way to give him any Zara. because he has no cells in his body at this time. If a person wants to use ninjutsu, he must make his cells stronger and stronger. But at this time, he actually has no vitality in his body. The reason is that his cells no longer have any activity. Inactive cells are almost dead. There is no way to provide the human body with more energy, and even if the other party wants to transmit chara, there is no way to store it. To die is to die. The ninja coalition wailed, and they cried and sat down. This was the first time they lost such a powerful ninja. Although it is not enough to hurt them, it will still make them feel that there is no hope for their journey, because one of their pillars has disappeared. It seems that they can foresee that there will be more pillars in the future, and they will die in this battle. But fortunately, the kennel seat has fallen, and the guy who blocked them has died. There are joys and sorrows, but more of them are sorrows. At this moment, Yi Lin looked at the scene in front of him and felt that it was too regrettable. He originally wanted to remove the sick writing seat, but the woo-woo seat did not violate his original will, and he did not know that it was due to his diligence. For what reason, Yi Lin felt that his call was becoming less and less deterrent. It seemed that the 12 ghost moons still had to have the power of the Ghost King proletariat to go around. Without him, there would be no way to order his subordinates. Guys, they have 2 hearts after all. Thinking of this, Yi Lin still felt very regretful. If this happened, he seemed to have no more loyal puppets. Advertisement: there is no way to order his lieutenant until the main general is drawn. It is really sad, not to mention that now the ninja coalition has died a might guy whose strength can completely surpass the 5 shadows at its peak. What a pity. He was very worried that the ninja company would choose to commit suicide because of this. But he still underestimated their beliefs. At this moment, although might guy has fallen, the other shadows still stood up strong and did not let their compatriots look down on them in the slightest. They stood high, bending over all their remaining troops and shouting loudly. My compatriots, we are now in a situation where the battle will only get harder and harder. But we must not be embarrassed, because if we surrender, then there will be a dead end. We can only continue to fight, and then we may break through the current situation. We promise, as your leader, we will definitely stand in the first position when the foot difficulty comes. We will definitely live up to the great hope. Even if we die, we will definitely die in front of everyone. The hero might guy is a good proof, and we promise we will give our lives like him in the future, just for everyone to return safely. 2.6. The 5 shadows preached thus. The ninja coalition below burst into tears, but their morale still did not rise, because they knew that there was no way to win, no matter what army. Only after they felt that they would win, they would burst out with firm fighting spirit, because the wall fell to everyone. Push. If there is no chance of victory in a battle at all, then it is very likely that they will all collapse in an instant. But there is more truth: the underdog will win. Because they have no way to retreat, they can only fight to the death, just like the might guy who fought desperately. As long as they have the determination to die, then they will definitely be able to defeat the opponent they think is absolutely impossible to defeat. This is the power of ninjas. Chapter 282. Stand your ground. Another battlefield opened ninjutsu, and the allied troops stood their ground again, and this time they did not intend to passively engage the enemy, but stood in a near-perfect formation, using all their long-range ninjutsu. The ninjas are surrounded in the center, while the other Earth-style ninjas who can use defensive ninjutsu are placed outside, surrounding them in a ring shape. In this way, when the other side launches an attack on themselves, no matter which side they come from, they can easily resist without worrying about being washed away by them. The users of long-range ninjutsu generally have no way to detect the danger in their immediate vicinity, so they can only show stronger power by pairing up with those who can fight nearby. This is the ninja's fighting method. They have used such a fighting method before, and have carried it forward after many times of completeness, because it perfectly exerts everyone's strength and can make their own strength 06. It is a relatively good plan to come to the other party without any loss, and no one is disgusted. And just like that, they are defending each other, wanting to wait for the next enemy to show up, not knowing where the next enemy will be, so they fight back to back and defend against everyone else, from any side attack. Can be targeted. And some other cage-level powerhouses hide on the side and do not stand with them, because they are elites after all. If they stand with them, they may be given by the other party because their goals are too big. Concentrating firepower to attack, at that time, because these ordinary ninjas have no way to fight back, it can only be passive loss, without any benefits. But if they don't stand with those ordinary ninjas, it will cause the enemy to be unable to start when they see them, and they don't know which side to start with. If they fight these elite ninjas first, it is possible that other ninjas will be diverted, and those ordinary ninjas can also initiate harassment tactics against them. And if they launch an attack on ordinary ninjas, then these elites can also be contained, and it is possible to give the opponent a fatal blow, because the opponent has no way, and at the same time pay attention to the head and tail. This is what they think is the most important matter. However, although the current battlefield is dark, there is still no enemy approaching. Learning from the previous lessons, they decided to release lightning-style ninjutsu by lightning-style ninja one after another. Illuminate everything around you, so that you can ensure that no enemy appears within your field of vision, and if there is, you can prevent it. Advertisement: so the whole battlefield was illuminated by their lights. Yi Lin watched this scene, although he knew that these guys were almost cheating, but he also understood that he could no longer interfere with Xiao Zhan. Originally, the Ninja Alliance had no way to easily kill his boss, so if he did it again, it would almost become a sure thing, and the Ninja Alliance would be absolutely overwhelming. After that, what role does this force have? It's not a wise choice for them to fall here. The surroundings fell into a brief silence, but everyone felt that this was not an auspicious sign. They understood that when they were so quiet last time, many of their comrades died next, and now the surrounding is quiet again, saying so if you come, then it is very likely that some attacks will appear again. In order to prevent the enemy from lying down, Terumi Mei, as the Mizukage of Kirikan Ninja Village, has the ability to detect the surrounding, can emit water vapor around, and sense the opponent's every move through the vibration of the water vapor. But this range is not wide, just in a very narrow distance. She can't feel things outside the distance or what the characters are doing, but within that distance, if someone moves a little bit, even if it's a slight movement of a finger, she may give her a thumbs up. Perception is such control, so precise. So he volunteered to go to other places to see, to ensure that there are no traps around. If there are, she can also prevent it in advance to prevent the other party from launching attacks on her companions, or making an ambush. Seeing her have to act alone, as a Hokage Tsunade, it doesn't feel right. Advertisement. Is it really necessary to go? Can we just stick to this place now? What if you were killed alone if you go out? Who can save you at that time? But Terumi Mei couldn't listen to this at all. He felt that although the opponent was strong, if he didn't even have the courage to take the initiative to explore, he would just shrink his head and tortoise, and he would eventually be beaten to death by the opponent sooner or later. So he had to go. But the people around stopped him, not only his cronies, but even some other people from the village. When they heard that Mizukage had to lie down and investigate by himself, they all came over and persuaded her not to in the past, otherwise there's only a dead end. But Terumi Mei doesn't think so. He thinks his 500 perception number is not so inferior. If there is no way to perceive the other party within 100 meters, then it is useless to stay in this place. She always felt that if she wanted to win a battle, she had to have the master's initiative in the battle, and her passiveness would be consumed to death by the opponent sooner or later. She thinks this is too right. No one can say it is wrong anymore. Terumi Mei has been educated like this since she was a child. She knows that if the other party wants to know the death, then it must be preemptive. If it is not preemptive, she must be the one who will die in the end. As for the various reasons, only she can explain it clearly. Because she understands that in the battle with the enemy, if the enemy and she have no information on each other, but he took the initiative to inquire and collected the enemy's information first, even if he suffered a little loss in the end, the next victory must be the moment, which is scientifically based, is a key factor in her obscurity in front of a little ninja from the beginning, and finally succeeding in the right way and becoming a shadow. Kirito Ninja Village is different from other villages. Other villages have always been peaceful and stable, but his village is different. Chapter 283 Very cruel. His village, which had been hyped by his own Mizukage from the very beginning, had turned into a very cruel one. In this village, there is only life and death, and there is no option of peaceful coexistence, so since he was a child, if he wants to survive, he must continue to learn more fighting skills. Of course, it is a very important battle factor to first know the information that you may want to harm your own people. When fighting with the opponent, if you don't even know how the opponent wants to kill you and how to kill you, then you will definitely die in the end. People only have one life. Terumi Mei felt that if he couldn't collect the enemy's intelligence perfectly, then he would only have one death, and that was his destiny, because even if he kept waiting, he would sooner or later will be caught by the other party, and then brutally tortured him. At that time, the odds of winning are basically impossible. Rather than fighting a battle with no chance of winning, it is better to actively prepare for it from the very beginning. Even if you take risks to collect information, you must let yourself have a master. In this case, when the enemy attacks, you will not become very passive. These are all skills, the skills she has summarized from her many years of combat experience, and the reason why others have not summarized them is because they are different from her, and they live in a different place than her, like other people. The villages in the village are too peaceful, and they have never said that their companions kill each other, and it is very common for their companions to kill each other. Even a ninja in a school is faced with something as simple as graduation. It even sounds very emotional. It may become a good memory for a person in a few years, but it may completely ruin a person's life. Because the question of the exam is to kill all of my companions. That's right, only one person can live at the same time. Advertisement. There are often many betrayal and forbearance in Kirian. Most of those ninjas who betrayed the village have a certain reason. They may have been very kind-hearted from the beginning and didn't want to hurt their companions, but they were helpless. To survive or to kill them, and finally turned himself into an inhumane killing machine. When he saw blood, he didn't have any emotion at all. It's not a very good thing, but they do it day in and day out, and for a long, long time, and at the end they get lost and they can't find their way forward. Living every day in a village feels hopeless until one day they discover the outside world and see that the outside world is so beautiful, unlike the cruel and bloody people in the village on the island where they live. Screen. They want to pursue beauty, that is, to pursue their own heart, which makes them feel that this is the most important thing they should do in their life, so they want to do their best to do it, even if they are chased by their own village. He was hunted and killed by his companions who had lived and trained together. Terumi Mei said all these things about himself, and told the other party clearly why he had such thoughts. Others could not understand him, because they had never experienced a cruel childhood like him, especially Hokage Konoha village. In essence, they are no different from the ninjas in Kirikan Ninja Village, but whoever wins and tells all the ninjas this is what they do, Even if the common people talk about him, he doesn't care, because there are powers in them, and those powers are the best weapons. He feels that no one can resist him, and the best means to suppress them. To be honest, the way of Konoha is definitely better, because after Konoha completely guides his villagers in a wrong direction, they will be willing to sacrifice their lives for the village, not what rebellion arises. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Fear is not the best way to hold a person, only to make a person feel that you are right in his heart, so that he will be able to obey you unconditionally, and even take things that you can't imagine. There was no way, so Mizuki specially set up a hunting team, and was the first person in all villages to develop such a team. But which village is not bad? Advertisement. The so-called no bad deeds are just because of the existence of a group of people, and those people are the roots hidden in the depths of the leaves. If you go against him, you will definitely be removed by him, so in the final analysis, it is equivalent to a kind of political infighting, which has nothing to do with the real service of the village and the people, and is definitely not just. This is exactly the same plan that Yi Lin thought of, and it is exactly the same as what he is doing now. He wants to conquer the policeman, but while conquering the policeman, he also wants people to have free will. In other words, he wants the policeman to be his own tool, but at the same time the policeman must give everything for him. Their political approach is repression, not rescue. In this way, there will be a deterrent force, which is equivalent to Jin Yue's elimination of all other people. Even if they are so tired, they will have no use. Although it is very bright, there is still a lot of darkness in the background. Those darkness breeds a lot of things that people hate very much, but it is precisely because of those things that make Konoha village prosperous and can still live in guarding Konoha. This kind of false appearance makes most people think that their village is very honorable, and there is no bad deeds at all. Choose with absolute loyalty those who are willing to do everything for the benefit of their village, but not so much for the village as for the Mizuki, for his own personal armed force. The approach taken is to rescue rather than suppress. As a professional, they deal with some things that Hokage should not do on the surface. In order not to cause controversy, they will do it quietly and solve those things neatly. This is their purpose. They are responsible for hunting down other high-ranking officials who have betrayed the village, or have political disagreements with the village leaders. And he put all this stuff on the surface for everyone to look at and feel scared. However, Konoha Ninja Village will do the opposite, so many people will betray their own village and turn to other organizations, or they will become kings on their own. Chapter 284 Loss of Reason. Pay all the conditions and the price, that is, you can't lose your mind. If you say that you think that Yi Lin is a very wise Kun Lord or the real savior in your own subjective consciousness, then you will not contradict him in other situations, and you will not have any doubts about him. It's the best way to regain people's hearts. However, Terumi Mei finally overturned this method. She thought it was too ridiculous. The truth sold by fiction is not necessarily the real truth. When you put it in front of the police will find out sooner or later. All falsehoods will eventually be replaced by incomparable truths. And on the day when the truth is revealed, all the damn guys will never survive, and will eventually die in the dust of history. His predecessor, Mizuki, is also like this. Although it was finally confirmed that he was controlled by other forces, in the final analysis, if he did not have such dark thoughts in his own heart, how could it be possible for others to take advantage of it? Weakness. Terumi Mei has never had this kind of ideological loophole. She knew that once she was timid, or wanted to keep these things in her hands, she would definitely lose more things. People are constantly losing and moving forward. If you have to let yourself grasp everything, then you are doomed to lose everything, because what a person can have in his life is limited. You have it. The cops will be lost, then the cops will come and snatch your possessions, and the world will be in chaos by then. Terumi Mei thinks about world peace, so he has not issued any cruel decrees since he ascended the throne. All he has been thinking about is how to make his people happy. For this reason, she even encourages farming so that everyone will no longer be robbery made a living, and also recruited some pirates around, making them return to the land to live. But this is not a long-term solution after all. Their island country is small in terrain, and ultimately cannot accommodate so many people. So in the end, someone has to go to the sea. If they go to the sea, it must not be fishing, because there is no place for fish. To sell, the quickest way to get money is to steal or robbery. Advertisement. Any port is very chaotic. There are many people from all over the place, and eventually a group of aboriginal people who are very shameless have been cultivated. Those aboriginal people may not have any moral code, just blindly thinking. AGCG, how to make yourself more beneficial. Terumi Mei knew that she couldn't stop this situation, so she could only let them develop, but in the end, it still needed to be resolved. So she had already thought about how to deal with such a situation from the beginning, so she began to develop her own methods, collect information from scratch, and want to get rid of the other party, that is, get rid of her own all the hostile political parties. Although those political parties said that they were against her in terms of general policy, some of them were actually similar to her, but they were more risky than her. In this way, even the most powerful people can't do anything about it. For them, although they are strong on the surface, they still do not have the real power of the master. Without the real power of the master, they are basically equivalent to being attacked, killing indiscriminately. There is no choice. Now they finally have a chance. Terumi Mei came to power. Terumi Mei gave them too many opportunities, so that they may have some freedom now, but in the end they are still free, although people are a little despised, but after all, they are still free, liberated. Because she was too stubborn and always insisted on her beliefs, Terumi Mei eventually went to the vicinity to investigate by herself, but there were still some ninjas who wanted to follow him. Those ninjas are not human, they are his cronies, Yi Ching. As Mizukage's escort, Ching has been serving Mizukage since he was young, and he has protected many Mizukages from falling into the hands of others and being swayed by others, causing some danger to their personal safety, but even if so he still serves my third generation. If you want to quarrel with him, then speak directly to his duties. If he is very conscientious, then what has served third Mizukage in his own hands? Shouldn't a normal bodyguard only serve one in a lifetime? Advertisement. If this is the case, then it can be called loyalty. What is there to be proud of in serving 3 in a lifetime? Who can't do it instead? If you use this reason to suppress him, then he will definitely make trouble with you or get angry with you, and may even kill you. No matter how much you intercede, it is useless. There is absolutely no way to joke about his duties, not even his relatives. There was once a relative who made such a joke about his duties, and was finally eliminated by him very cruelly. It may be that he feels that the relative has no effect on him. It is also possible that whoever wins will seal him up so that he will be used by him all the time, and will no longer be influenced by the police. It is because of various reasons. In short, he is a very hard-headed person, so no matter how hard Terumi Mei is, she has to do things alone. He must follow. There is no room for negotiation, he just wants to follow, and he has to follow. This is his duty. Protecting the safety of Mizukage is what he must do all the time, and the reason why the Water City is like the previous generations. He passed away, and he was actually inseparable from it. Every time they were talking about what they were going to do alone, he didn't choose to follow, but let them go, which eventually made them very easy to be killed by the enemy, and after the next, although it is said that no one will blame him, but he will still have a huge psychological obstacle in his heart, and each time it takes a long time to ease up, and it will leave an indelible psychological shadow in his heart. He doesn't want to feel this kind of psychological shadow, so he must stop this time. If he can't, he must follow his own shadow. Even if he is dead, he must die in front of his shadow. This is what a servant should do. Just like his parents. Terumi Mei soon left the Ninja Alliance and went to a faraway place. He actually wanted to investigate, but he just wanted to be far away from everyone, that's all. Chapter 285. I don't want to see someone die anymore. She didn't want to see her companions die so easily, in front of her. In the few battles just now, too many people died in front of him, and many of them were him. Object of mind. That's right, she is not married yet. If she wants to get married, she will definitely spoil her subordinates, or choose from among her companions. But just a few days when he wanted to get married, the world suddenly changed. The pattern between ninjas became smaller and smaller, and it was known that they were replaced by a very nonsense island. And there are many, many monsters on this island. She doesn't want to fight with these monsters, but she has no choice. Who makes him the top leader of the village? She just wanted to live simply as a woman, but he had no choice. When she was in a place far away from her ninja coalition, she finally felt that she could not breathe. He always pretended to be a hook in front of everyone, and he was very calm. In fact, he was too serious. There is no way for him to act so calmly like other shadows, and there is no way for him to call on others. She was originally a person without an iron fist, but he still insisted on using those policies with an iron fist. This is actually contrary to his opinion. That's right, he didn't want to do that. But she understands that the only way to make the village more prosperous is this. What role does his own personal will have? As long as his village can prosper, what does he think about it, and why is it necessary? With this idea in mind, he will continue to make that decision. At this moment, Ao, the servant of Mizukage, could see through his master and what kind of thoughts he was holding. Master Ying, it seems that you still have some scruples and did not tell us everything. Terumi Mei nodded when she heard this. Advertisement. That's right, I really don't want to tell you all these things, because I don't think you can help me if you know about it. This is my own problem after all, so I need to solve it myself. Walk a lot. But it's dangerous around here, it's full of places we're not familiar with, and I can't afford it if something goes wrong. You don't have to protect me. If there is any danger, you just leave and hang up. I can take care of myself. But Mizukage-sama. No but, if I say so, just do it. In other words, even if I go, so what? Will I not die when the policemen lie down? Or I won't go to the policeman first. What's the point of dying? What's the point of watching all the people under him die, while he is still alive and well? I've had enough. Mizukage said and walked into the distance without looking back. She really didn't care about the danger. No matter how dangerous the other party was to him, he wouldn't take a half step back. The winner was really decided, but as a servant, Ching absolutely couldn't keep away from him, so he followed step by step, and used his detective ability to probe around. If there was any danger nearby, he will definitely come to the investigation at the first time, and tell the owner of it. His previous masters had already died in front of him. This master must not die. Even if he tried his best, even if he died, he could not let his master die. What he was thinking of, although he did not bring other attendants, he felt that he could still do it by himself. Ching will not blame his master for these reasons, but only himself. He is a very loyal subordinate. Even if others point at him, he will not say it is his master, he will keep following until the end of the world. 0. For flowers. That's right, it's actually a beautiful woman, this time I can finally feast my eyes on it. I can't meet this self-willed request of my master. As a municipal party committee, I have failed, which means I don't have enough protection ability. Although I say that it is very dangerous right now, if the enemy appears, I can kill them in seconds. But this is precisely because their guards are incompetent. What's more, Terumi Mei didn't want to bring more people here, he just wanted to relax. Advertisement: she has to learn to fight with Might Guy and the defensive boss on this floor. Even if she burns her own life, she has to fight to the end. As if waiting for them for too long, a strange voice suddenly rang. However, what they didn't expect was that they only hooked for less than 2 minutes. It is self-evident which of the two is stronger. Terumi Mei is madly trying to get rid of him, because she knows that the only person who is good to her can't even die in this place with him, otherwise he will be a ghost and will not be able to atone for his crimes. Deficit. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. A very rogue-sounding voice said this. Terumi Mei immediately became vigilant. He felt that the target of the other party was him, which was a blessing for him, because in this way, he would not have to attack his own guards. It seems that because of his strong perception ability, he heard this sentence first, but his guard did not hear it, so he yelled loudly and told his guard to stand in the same place and not follow, and he wanted to stay far away. Move forward like a loner. Terumi Mei also knew that he wouldn't go far, so he didn't mean to throw him off, because although it was said that this was protecting it on the surface, it was actually him who was protecting it. It is equivalent to him protecting him alone. If there is any danger, then he must first stand up to help him resist, rather than stand on the hook to resist his business. Suddenly, the surrounding weather darkened as if it had been planned for a long time. The guard didn't know what his master was thinking, but he was keenly aware that there should be some danger approaching, so even if he agreed on the surface, he still followed behind, and the speed became faster. Come faster and faster, even if it is half a step, he is not willing to be far from his master. What's more, Terumi Mei is a person who is not willing to give up her companion. She will never watch her companion die in front of her and remain indifferent, not to mention that he is unacceptable because of the death of his companion. Suji specially lies down to breathe. Chapter 286 New Debut. This is a new boss. Although he said that he had already been placed on the battlefield by Yi Lin, he did not know what reason he had to wait in the dark for a while, or to wait for a sting. A while. He didn't want to see the other party know that he was here. He wanted to launch a surprise attack on the other party without the other party's knowledge, and if the other party didn't fall for him, then he would be very angry, but most of the time the other party had no way to do it. Aware of his existence, because his ability to hide is too strong, in the original world he was known for his ability to hide himself, making the protagonist easy to find. There is no way to find where he is, and naturally there is no way to fight with him. Although it is still open to question whether the battle will be successful after the battle, but on the eve of the 500 war, the opponent was forced to use up his energy aimlessly and at will. In the end, he had no choice. There is a lot of fluff and water that beats the opponent, but at that time, he was in a state of relatively full energy, while the others were exhausted, full of energy, and tired of playing against each other. Then the end would definitely be full of energy. The one who is exhausted will win, and the one who is exhausted will eventually fall under his blade. This is a tactic, and he likes it very much. In boxing, this tactic is called the gazelle tactic. Let the opponent always want to come and chase him, but in the end he wins with his physical strength. The opponent can't chase him because the opponent has used very powerful attacks in the previous battles. The physical strength is very fast, so there is no way to use such a strong battle in the next attack, so they will be at a disadvantage in the subsequent battle, so they must fight quickly. The gazelle tactic is to let the opponent use up their physical strength aimlessly, until they can't even organize a decent attack in the end, and then they are not worth mentioning, and will eventually be easily given by this new boss, Beat. He is the second of the winding strings, that is, the existence called Tongmo. The reason why he is called this name is because he was named by his parents when he was born, although he wants to change the name later, but it still didn't work out. He is not the same as ordinary people, because his hair color is colorful, and his pupils are also very delicate and beautiful, and his face is also very fond of police officers, especially some caring people. The girls who are caring, after seeing his appearance, they will have something similar to a Mother's Day to him, and at that time they will relax their vigilance against him, because he is so beautiful and cute. He has been so cute and beautiful since he was a child, and he can easily make himself cry. His acting skills are very good, and because of his acting skills, he has always been in his own life circle. The circle of life is given by his parents. When he was born when he was young, he was not much different from the policeman, until his parents thought he was an unusual person. Anyone who saw their children with colorful hair and when the eyes are very delicate, they will feel that it is a son of heaven or that the son of God thinks that he is extraordinary, which is almost equivalent to a vision of heaven. Advertisement in Tongmo is indeed like this. He has been used to it all the time, and even became the leader of a sect called All Things Bliss. In that church, he can do whatever he wants, take whatever he wants, and kill whoever he wants, because in that church network, they will think that he is the will of God and is ordered to lead them to the messenger of a better life. For such a messenger, their mood is admiration and moving. Once they see his appearance, they will feel that everything in the future has been predetermined, and it will definitely be beautiful. If it goes against his temperament if you come, then those beautiful things in the future will definitely be destroyed. This kind of feudal superstition has always been rooted in the hearts of his church members, and there is no way to completely erase them, and they are also, and have been thinking about this matter in their hearts, so that every time they have to make their own when the messenger pays tribute, he will whisper to his messenger at the same time, suggesting that he has not fulfilled the good things he promised. But Tong Mo will not give them a realization. In fact, he is not a messenger at all, let alone a messenger of God. He has never heard of such a thing. The reason why he pretends to be like this is because his parents grew up just teach him to be like this. He has never seen God at all, and he feels that the sufferings those guys have been complaining to him are very nonsense and funny. He laughs in his heart every time, thinking that they are so miserable, they deserve it. But he won't show the emotion that he looks down on people very much on the surface, and he has always acted very well, because in this way they can continue to gain privileges and have been praised by the stars, so he has become an actor since he was a child. Pi, relying on his innocent and cute appearance to deceive the police, even sometimes when his love is deep, he will deliberately let himself shed tears, making the other party believe that he is moved by his tragic experience, but in fact I am already overjoyed in my heart. Although those things are indeed very tragic in the eyes of others, there is really nothing to say to him, because he really listens too much. A person has been listening to people's tragic experiences since he was a child. After more, he will always be looking for something different, that is there any new story? If there is no new story 2.6, he will feel bored. Once bored, he will be impatient and don't want to listen to people anymore talk about her tragic experience. Who hasn't had a tragic experience yet? There are so many tragedies in the world. Why do you still live? Why do you have to live? Why don't you die? When pressing him in a hurry, he would find a way to kill the other party, and the other party would suddenly remember that he didn't want to die before he died, and finally understood his true face, but it was too late. But blindly killing people, in fact, he also finds it meaningless. He is not like other ghosts who like to look at people with despair, because he thinks that after watching too much, it is meaningless. The only thing he finds interesting is women. Chapter 287 Unpredictable. That's right, a woman who can't figure it out. A woman's mind is like a needle in the sea. It has been hidden in the depths of the sea so that you can't find it at all. Even if you find him, it is changeable. What you find is not necessarily true. He has always wanted to conquer a woman, and once conquered, he will feel that the other party is boring, so he will make it into a doll. So he has been chasing love, but when he encounters real love, he will feel boring again. It's like a human being born in the world and a special policeman wants to have someone, but when he has it, he will feel tired and crooked, that is, he is always agitating for what he doesn't have and wants to get. He always felt that he wanted to reveal the truth of this world, but he didn't want to criticize him, he just thought it was understandable, because even he did it himself, he thought it was very interesting, so he did it all the time. Right now, he has been lurking, wanting to wait until the ninja allied forces do something strange, and then carry out the next 06 plan, but after waiting for a long time, he has not found anyone moving a little, even if it is leaving the line for a while and not until a man laid down. If it was a man, he might ignore it. But that person is a woman, and she is very cute and beautiful. He has always liked this kind of woman very much, but what he likes is not his appearance, nor does he want to get his body, let him have children for himself, etc. He does not want to conquer him, but it's right to want to eat him. It's the conquest between the hunters and the hunters in the full sense. He doesn't think there's any meaning to sexual desire. Only eating a woman in his stomach is what really makes him feel happy. This kind of horror it is certainly intolerable for other people. But it's a very normal thing for his ecstasy to be bad, because everyone in his church has the same idea as him. They won't think that their sect leader is very perverted, they will think why their leader doesn't eat people, and they will dedicate to him the women and maids they recruited from all over the world every year to get her favor, and then he will use his own the supernatural power of one, but it is actually a ghost power to fulfill the wishes of the other party. To turn them into ghosts or to help them fulfill a little wish in the world. He once helped the 6th, and Shifu Taro fulfilled my own wish and made him successfully become a ghost. Vagrant state, with their sister, they have no one to accept them, if it stays like this. What awaited them was death, and they didn't want to die, so they took refuge in this sect. But they found out that this bad master is a heinous pervert, but even so, they didn't feel anything wrong, they just felt that all this had nothing to do with him. If he wanted to accept them, then they turned into ghosts. Is it the same to let them have a common topic with him? At that time, he can also continue to protect his sister. In order to protect his sister, Shifutaro gave his everything. Although it is said that there is nothing to protect after the two become ghosts, but in the end, after all, he is a rare power for them. After having this power, they will also bear the curse of the cursed ghost of this power. What is it then? Advertisement. The curse of ghosts is that once you touch the sun, you will be shattered immediately, but if you don't touch the sun, then you are invincible in the dark, a being that can never be killed. Unless you encounter ghost killers. What kind of people are ghost slayer? The sun blade they hold in their hands can kill these ghosts, and when they completely cut off each other's heads, it can also make them never regenerate and desire. Cultural regeneration means that they will die sooner or later, so they have been avoiding the ghost killing team, or trying to kill them in various ways, but the ghost killing team will not give them any such opportunities, so they have been in the dark, competing with them. But even so, when everything is still not over, the ghost killing team is still human after all. If it is human, it has weaknesses, and their hotspot is when they encounter ghosts. If they are a little careless, they will be killed. The combat ratio is very large. Since Tong Mo became a ghost, I don't know how many people from the ghost killing team have met. Each of them wants to kill him, but because everyone has no way to compete with him, in the end all were destroyed by him. The most happy thing for him is to meet the female members of the ghost killing team. After those female members of yours, he will eat them alive, or become a ghost like himself. This is what he thinks the happiest thing in life can be called bliss. But he still felt scared, because the ghost-killing squad still has stronger people, and those people can easily kill it. After all, he is not the first one, but the second one, because he is cowardly. His nature, so he has been hiding himself, and he has also unlocked himself, hiding a powerful skill, 500 hidden himself in the dark, and he has also reduced the size of everything to only 250 people, will be further expanded. He knows that once it expands, it will attract other people's attention, and if it spreads around, one day his position will be detected by the Ghost Killer team, and at that time, the Ghost Killer team all the members will come over and send stronger powers to fight against him. At that time, he will be touched and disturbed. This is what he finds the most annoying. He just doesn't want to fight against the Ghost Killer team, not because he is a good man, but because he wants to get away with it. But this is also something that can't be helped. Killing the Ghost Killing team is not something he can't do if he wants to. If the master behind him insists on giving him an order, then even he can't compete, because the reason why he turned into a ghost is because his master injected his blood into him. It is precisely because of his ghost blood that he has been able to live so happily and carelessly. If he disobeys his master, he will be easily killed like a ray of ants, even if he flees to the ends of the earth, because he has no way to escape the control of his master, and his master is the first ancestor of ghosts. He and his police officers are one in the sky and one in the ground. Chapter 288. Although he said that he is the second most valuable, his strength is already very strong, but in the end he still has no way to escape the control of the ancestor of regret. He gave everything to him. If he is unhappy one day, he wants to change the winding again, then it will be very simple. Fortunately, his master has no such idea yet, so he has been conscientiously doing what his master has told him. Even the slightest neglect will make him feel extremely frightened. Said that his master did not ask him to do anything, but he was summoned here by another force, and he wanted to kill all these people. His orders are very direct, but if you want to kill these people, you must use more powerful force, and you have to fight them face to face. What he hates most is fighting, because he doesn't want to have blood with the other side, the collision of fire, because even if he wins in the end, it may cause him to suffer too much damage and cannot be cured. Although he doesn't think he will lose, he is afraid that he will be hurt. If he is hurt, it will be very painful. Although he can still be resurrected, he still has to endure pain before resurrection, and this kind of pain is common to ordinary people. It is also unbearable. Even if a person can't bear that he is a ghost, he can't, because the ghost is always suffering. He thinks that he can always be relaxed or happy and live simply. At this time, he still didn't expose himself from the shadows, because he didn't know what the strength of the person in front of him was, if he had a lot of power, or if he could carry out a one-for-one mission with him. Then anything that follows will become meaningless, and it will simply be defeated by the opponent. So he sent this woman to the battlefield. How exciting the battle between the two women will be. He will wait and see. If one side loses, then he will eat the loser in the stomach. He has moved his index finger. The woman in front of him looked very good looking. Generally, a good-looking woman would not have much lethality. This was the idea he held before, but after he met some women in person, she changed. I came up with this idea, and felt that this idea was too wrong. Therefore, at this moment, the woman in front of him, although he said that he was still standing still, even though he had released his figure to let the other party notice him, but the other party did not act rashly at all, not even a little bit of physical strength. I didn't even plan to try him. It seems that people who can make themselves unscathed after a battle should not exist at all, but he is such a person. He can use his powerful strength to cause absolute crushing on the opponent, and even a little bit of damage. Avoided like a snake Sasori, for fear that he would die from this small injury. After all, he cared about his own injuries the most. Once the other party squatted even a little bit on his skin, it would make him feel very unacceptable. Because those women are not only very powerful, but also almost killed her. Although he is the second most expensive, his record has always been very unsightly, even though his strength is very strong, and can make all the ghosts below him bow their heads, except for the Black Death above his head. Advertisement. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. From the very beginning, there was no way for the police to recover his injuries when he killed him, because he never let anyone touch him. If anyone can get into his body, then it must be a master of the Peerless Masters. He has always respected the masters of the Peerless Masters, but this does not mean that he will treat him as a master. Treat each other with courtesy, and when he comes to him, he will definitely kill it without blinking an eye. He has always been very fond of this kind of damage, but he has never been able to find an opponent who can withstand this damage, so he thought of putting this guy on the court to try it out. If the opponent is hit by this, he can easily kill him. If he dies, then everything that remains will be easy to know. So he thought, maybe he should strike first. In this case, he can get some opportunities first, but in order not to reveal his strength. Although he and the opponent's strength are not on the same level at all, in order to avoid this kind of thinking, he wants to wait until the opponent exposes his own strength, and then he will carry out the next inquiry. Of course, if he keeps hiding, if he does, then the other party will definitely not easily reveal his strength, so he has been waiting or wants to use some method to test him. He is the least likely to take advantage of his healing ability, and is also the ghost that his master thinks the most strange. The other ghosts are crazy to ask for his blood, and they desperately want to raise their level, but they did not expect that this person is not the same as them at all, because he does not care about the recovery ability of ghost blood at all, but it is not that he does not care, he just thinks that it is unnecessary. At that time, he can also bring more young women into his arms, tease them as much as he wants, and eat them after the teasing is finished, which is equivalent to his own reserves. He hasn't eaten women for a long time. He still had countless women to eat a long time ago, but after the establishment of the ghost killing team, he knew that if he acted rashly, he would be caught by the other party. Since the whole army attacked and killed him, and at that time the broken things he has to deal with will be one after another. So he only sent a small clone, and that clone was a puppet that he had eaten himself, and pulled the guy's skin off and put it on a puppet. The puppet had no self-consciousness, but it acted as extremely fast, and his body is as cold as frost. This is his special ability, which can freeze the opponent like an ice cube and cause extremely terrible, tearing damage. But even so, he couldn't convince the woman. If he couldn't convince him, then he couldn't eat it, so he was able to give in again and again, and finally almost killed him. He still used some more treacherous methods and successfully pocketed it. Of course, he was still unscathed at that time, because he felt that if he was injured, then it was equivalent to a failure. But if he is still unscathed, then G can be called a victory. Chapter 289 Returning to the Mountain Forest. Although he said that it was equivalent to retreating to the mountain forest, he would still be sent by his master to sit here and there. Those dirty, baby Oz drudgery seemed very unnecessary to him. It's not really good for him if he does it, but if it's good, he will be scolded by his master again. Although it is said that he has a higher level than himself, he has always felt that there is no way to do it. But even so, they still had to accept it, because after all, this was the order issued by the second court. As a higher rank than them, he could turn himself into a sand sculpture if he was a little serious, then if he killed him in the end, then it will cease to exist and cease to exist. Naturally, it wasn't a very good result, but it was better than being killed by him. Because of this, he has very little actual combat experience. It has always been like, the military division with the strongest theory has been talking about soldiers on paper, relying entirely on his own subordinates to fight, and he has never been on the battlefield in person, and he does not know how cruel the other party is. He just thinks that the other party is really powerful, and it may take his own life, so he has been thinking that if he cannot let himself get 500, he will never let himself. Once the opponent is killed by his subordinates, he will be happy for a while, and once he does not talk nonsense, then he will be sad and send a more powerful subordinate to fight. Even if his subordinates are dead, he can also run to the ends of the earth and prevent the other party from finding him. At the moment, the ice girl who made her own rhyme is fighting with the other party. The other party was very surprised when he saw that the person who came out was a woman, but when he saw the other party's expressionless expression, he knew that it was just an avatar. The Hokage world naturally has avatars, and the avatars come in various forms, including soil avatars and water avatars. Terumi Mei also uses water avatars. The water avatars are completely different from other water avatars, because his water avatars are relatively strong, even if they are water avatars. Hard-hitting, and ninjutsu will not disappear easily, unlike other clones that will be completely scrapped with a little touch. He knows that such a clone requires a lot of chara, and it is also easily interrupted by the other party. The release time is relatively long, but once it is released successfully, it is equivalent to half her. Many people can say that although it can only be used once, it is still very cost-effective. He saw that the other party used the clone to fight with him, so he didn't want to fight by himself and expose his strength, so he created a water clone, spit out water from his mouth, condensed into his own appearance, and then fought with the other party. Shizuo Yi, the other party did not expect that he would actually use a book-like avatar to fight against him, and he was a little surprised for a while. Advertisement, but it is also acceptable what will happen to water when it encounters ice, and there is no doubt that it will be frozen. Terumi Mei didn't expect the opponent's clone to be able to use the strange power of ice. He was a little surprised for a while, as if he was caught off guard, but he quickly reacted and used another clone. This avatar is different from the other avatars, it is solvable. What is lava style? It is another strange boundary of blood in the village of Kirikan Ninja. The power of this bloodline limit is very powerful, and it can melt it when it comes into contact with water. Most of his success as a Mizukage relies on this bloodline limit. No other water-style ninjutsu would have worked in front of him. He also became the boss and was admired by many people. What a worthy opponent. Terumi Mei has a lot of chara, so he doesn't care if the other party is consuming it, because he can give him to the person who wears it down. He has a very high movement speed acceleration on the frost, so that the other party can't see where he is moving, so in the darkness, he slowly walked out and stood in front of the other party, looked at him with a smile. Water body has no effect, not to mention Tong Mo can't control water, so he can only watch his ice girl turn into water little by little and be at a loss. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement, but he just won't be tempted by anyone, so when Seong saw the other party make such an expression, he immediately felt that there was something wrong with the other party, and secretly raised his vigilance in his heart. Now Tong Mo looks like a fool. How could there be a woman who doesn't fall in love with my beauty? He has never felt this way before, but today is just like this. What a joke. I didn't expect this woman to have such a powerful power, and it doesn't seem like she is an ordinary person. Thinking of this, he felt that it was time for him to play in person, so he spread a layer of frost on the surrounding field. In an instant, the lava-style clone, AGCG, was thrown into the battlefield. His speed is very fast, because it was made by Izara, who was hooked by Terumi Mei himself, so he didn't need any other extras at all. Objects serve as a medium to maintain form. Who did she think she was? It's that adorable expression again. If it's an ordinary woman, she might be tempted by it, but Terumi Mei knew that the guy in front of her was the pervert who said he was a beautiful woman. Although she said that the other party's expression was very cute, she didn't. He doesn't feel anything, because he doesn't even know who to borrow when he gets married. He doesn't feel anything about many people. Maybe he is destined not to have love. It's quite miserable for such a life. She has also been longing for it. The woman in front of her had no intention of being tempted at all. Not only that, but she was even very disdainful of him. But, for the time being, there is no Yunsheng Ice Girl and Rongtong clone who have meditated, but at this moment, Ice's attack no longer has any effect, because lava style can completely melt his soldiers, and at that time, he is equivalent to a water body. Chapter 290 Indistinguishable. Without causing any substantial damage to Terumi Mei, the two were fighting each other at this moment, seemingly like two fools fighting, without causing any effective damage to each other. If we fight as usual, then there may be back and forth between the two people, and the fight is indistinguishable, but the current battle is fundamentally different from before. The previous battle was carried out on the ground, and there are some reasons for the terrain and other factors to be considered in the battle, but the current battlefield is a battlefield created by others, so there are no other obstacles or cover, just the intersection of light and darkness. Terumi Mei saw that the clone in front of him was easily dissolved by him, so for a while he felt that the other party was not a master. At least the masters he could handle were fundamentally different from the previous ones. If a random hook like the previous ones might kill him without a place to die, he also felt that he took a risk by hooking him rashly, but obviously this person does not have the ability to kill him, otherwise it will never make Yun such a simple avatar technique. This kind of clone technique has no effect on him at all. If the other party realizes this, it is very likely that he will take a stronger attack in the future, which may be a little dangerous, but in the end it is still worth the wait. Terumi Mei has been in his own village since a long time ago, and he has no opponents. If he wants to find other opponents, he must choose from the police's village, and the police's village generally does not have any opponents. If he fights, then it will inevitably cause bloody storms, which is equivalent to the war of the ninja world. Countries are still very sensitive to the ninja war. They don't want to break the current peaceful situation. The only one who wants to fight is the country of water. Because the country of water is an island country, the resources on the ground are limited, and most of itself needs to rely on the resources of other countries to develop itself, so if other countries are unhappy one day and insist on restricting them, then their survival lifeline will be cut off immediately, and if it is cut off, it will be very difficult to connect. So they sent a team to go to the mainland to fight with them, but what they never expected was that if their troops were concentrated and distributed on the vast mainland, it would be like a piece of loose sand, thrown in the desert. It can no longer be found, and there is no combat effectiveness at all. If they finally face up to the harassment along the coast, there is absolutely no way for them to send troops to suppress them and drive them back to sea. The same is true for the land of water. Even if they send their own ninjas to the mainland to fight, but even so, they are only harassing some areas along the coast. The ninjas on the mainland are actually quite good to them, a big threat. They have always liked to fight guerrillas, jumping in the forest, swimming in the water to draw up their applications. Many of their ninjutsu are also about this. If on the mainland, there is very little water in the mainland, so it will lead to they have no way to compete with them, especially the land of the land. The land of the land of the land is very vast, and most of them are barren deserts, which makes them have to live in the mountains, and will also launch wars against other countries like the land of water, just because of the terrain is dangerous, so other countries have no choice, but even if he desperately wants to break through their village, he must bypass their desired mountain range. Advertisement 0. Ask for flowers. So if they say that one day they don't want to see the policeman's face anymore, then they must start a war, and this war is bound to be protracted, and they absolutely cannot afford it, so they are actually equivalent to war. Very sensitive and won't start a war easily. But on the mainland, they are not opponents at all, and they will be easily defeated by the opponent. Terumi Mei, as the leader of the armed forces of the land of water, plays a decisive role in the war. If he does not want to fight, no one can force him to fight. However, the attitude of other countries is not the same. They look down on the combat power of the Water Kingdom very much. For them, the combat power of the Water Kingdom is not that strong, but they will definitely not go to the Water Kingdom to fight them. Those ninjas, if they were hooked to fight with other people in groups, they would be beaten down like dwarf dogs, and they would be repaired severely, and the losses would be extremely terrifying, and the consumption of them is something you can't afford, so their country's territory has always been so large, the police have no way to enter, because his defense force is very terrifying, but it also makes them unable to invade the police. They can only watch the police helplessly. People fight, and they defend their own country, because they know that they are mainlanders on land. For people on this island, actually running to their territory is equivalent to wolf entering the tiger's mouth, and sooner or later they will kill them. But how difficult it is for them, not to mention that all of their ninjas will use earth-style ninjutsu, and they can walk more sensitively than them with their noses when they are hiding in the mountains, so they categorically there's no way to start a war. The land of the land is the same as the land of the land. But a country that jumped like this actually still exists. It also proves that other big countries have no way to take the country of water. They drove him away, but when they got on the boat, they would play their great role on the water. Advantage: if the opponent is still chasing, then they will turn defeat into victory. There have been very painful lessons before, so they have always been in a peaceful policy for the country of water. If they are noisy, then they will give them what they want, but this also contributes to the pride and indulgence of the country of water. They feel that other countries are afraid of themselves, and they also feel that their country's national strength is above all national images. If you have the opportunity, stand up to pick up the leak. If you can't pull it, you will flee back to your own country. Anyway, there is no way for others to pursue the loss. Because what they have always endured is the battle on the island. On the island, they can do it with ease, but on the mainland they will be limited everywhere because there is no shelter. Chapter 291: The Origin of the War. The most fierce ones on the battlefield are the three statues of the Kingdom of Wind, the Kingdom of Fire, and the Kingdom of Thunder. It is equivalent to the romance of the three kingdoms. They have been fighting all the time. There is not so much attention between them, and their terrain has nothing to defend. If there is one you can attack another country cruelly, then it must be the country of fire. He can easily destroy any of you. That is to say, if they want to attack or even attack, then it will be very simple to crush it with the power of the whole country. The Kingdom of Thunder will definitely not be able to bear it, because the power of the Kingdom of Fire is too strong, and they Cloud Shinobi have no way to do it. Competing with Konoha, because their strength is actually very different. And the country of fire is also a country with a very long history. Compared with other major countries on May 1st, 7, has stronger power and background, not only in terms of attack power, defense power and other genjutsu abilities, and even some Kimindunjia have had a lot of research and achievements, equivalent to the only superpower among all countries. And their policies are also very benevolent and righteous, and they will not invade others, because they have enough food in the Central Plains to be self-sufficient, and even most of them will have surplus. If they want to trade, then they want to raise your own prices, and raise your own prices. Although they have always adhered to the policy of benevolence and righteousness, they do not look down on other countries so much, and they have always maintained friendly relations with other countries. Even if the other party makes an unreasonable request, they will consider it and accept it. It also makes other countries intensify against them. Because they feel that although they can buy food from the land of fire at a very low price, there is also a possibility that they have no way to control the price of food, and they can only watch the price of the land of fire rise. Therefore, the land of wind and the land of thunder often invade the land of fire for this reason. Most of the land is the land of thunder, but more is the land of wind, because the land of wind is compared to the land of thunder. Their resources and products are even more barren, because they are in the desert, although they are in an oasis, but their population is always growing. If they keep growing, then they will eventually have no way to continue to expand, because there is no way to use the desert next to him, and there is no way to grow grape crops. So they thought about how to invade the country of fire. Of course Terumi Mei knows that he is not really a strong ninja in the world, but as a shadow, he at least still has a certain ability, and when facing other people, he also has a certain strength to compete with him, at least not sitting still. So he has a certain amount of self-confidence. As for where this self-confidence comes from, he does not think it is a very important issue. In his worldview, there are only two concepts of being defeated by the enemy and defeating the enemy by himself. 1. As long as one is superior enough, it can be seen by people. Therefore, there are few wars between the land of water and the mainland, but there are often wars between the continents. The reason for their war is also very related to the issue of life and death. Advertisement, but they think too much. The people in the country of fire are not so brainless. When they saw that the country of wind was so barren and had no resources, they immediately abandoned them, and they had a good name. Japan will not occupy an inch of each other's land. If the land of wind does not exist, then where should their food be sold, and after receiving them, they will have to pay for the food for free. If they are doing this, wouldn't it be a loss for them? So use knives and guns are enough to defend against the land of wind. As for why they are not summed up, there are more purposes to speak of. Originally, they had no idea about war, but from the current point of view, if they did not resort to war, they would have been suppressed by the land of fire. Moreover, after breaking into their territory, they originally thought that the other party would destroy their own country and then annex it. This is actually a better choice, because with the benevolence and righteousness of the Fire Kingdom, they treat their villagers. It is very likely that the villagers of the Land of Winds will accept it, and by that time they will have a good life, at least they will not be hungry. At this moment, he is still fighting with Tong Mo. Although Tong Mo said on the surface that he felt that the person in front of him should not be in a big fight, but now both of his clones have completely disappeared. If he doesn't do anything anymore, if so, then it is very likely to cause death on this battlefield since 2.6. Therefore, for the sake of safety, they have always been careful to carry out their plans of aggression, but things will eventually be exposed one day. After all, there will be a day when they feel that they have accumulated enough strength, so they want to attack the country of fire. He launched an aggression attack, but before he could send the tailed beast, he suddenly saw that the other party had already sent troops to fight. And because the power of the Fire Nation is too powerful, they always remember that if they are seen through by the other party, their thoughts may eventually be easily defeated by the other party. In this way, their economy will be preempted, and no matter what they want to do, they must be restricted by the other party, so this is a very bad thing. If they want to break this situation, they must. If you resist, it will lead to war. So he thought that if he couldn't defeat the opponent directly, he would use gestures to keep defending, and he would not fight back even if the opponent attacked him. This would help preserve his strength, and it would also be able to hold him back to a certain extent. The other party, so that he has no way to leave here. Terumi Mei knows that he probably won't be this person's opponent, but he will never be defeated by the opponent so easily. At least he has to drag his ninjas to see that you have caught the smoke of war. So when he heard the news and rushed over, he might be surrounded by this guy. If he was surrounded, then his chances of winning are still very high. At least there is no danger of being annihilated by the opponent. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Although the risk is small, it does not mean that there is no risk. It makes people feel annoyed, but there is no way to do it. There you who are like this, talking about benevolence and morality, but also feel that they can't be so kind, so they will continue to be like this. Chapter 292. But Tong Mo wouldn't hold this kind of thought, because he wanted a quick solution from the beginning. Even if the other party came to 101 rough people, he would not say that he had to entangle with him. He and others, the ghosts, are different. Other ghosts are likely to take pleasure in torturing human beings, but I showed him that he has no interest in other people except eating women. If other people died in front of him, he would at most take it for granted, instead of doing some damage to his body. Other ghosts will devour the corpse of the dead person, just like a ghoul. As a man-eating ghost, you will not devour the dead body of the other party, because he thinks that a person will become very bad after death. Dirty. If you eat it at that time, you will make yourself sick. Although it's not necessarily that he won't get any disease when he is alive, but that's what he thinks in his own consciousness, and it may also be related to the teaching he received. No matter what it is, eat alive and fresh. If it is dead, will produce all kinds of spoilage, and that spoilage is what he doesn't want to need. Once he eats spoiled meat, his mood will become extremely low, and what he will do at that time is a big killing everything you see to express your anger. Even his master, who is the ancestor of ghosts, may be hurt by him. Of course, he also supports his idea. If you have a temper, you must let it out. Don't hide it in your heart. You will always suffocate yourself. Pre him. But this is not the reason why he can be lazy. He is now sent to this battlefield to fight with other people. He knows that it is not the order of the ancestor of ghosts, but he once promised the ancestor of ghosts that he will never again. If he is lazy, he will definitely not. He should shirk his work to the police, because he understands that there is no one else who can shirk now, and everyone else has been eliminated by these guys. Although he didn't know how these guys eliminated these perverted guys, he shouldn't be harmful, and they must have paid a heavy price, otherwise they wouldn't have won so easily. It's just that since he's here now, he has to deal with all these things. It sounds very powerful, but it is actually very useful, but the damage is very high, and it can knock the opponent back immediately, so the moment Xinglong touched Tongmo, he immediately flew him. No, there is a person, but that person should have fallen by now. Terumi Mei didn't expect that the other party would make ninjutsu blow out the wind. He didn't react for a while, and was blown straight by the other party. I feel very, very cold. Could it be ninjutsu? Although Tong Mo tried his best to stand still, he was still sent dozens of meters away by Xinglong. And if you want to deal with it, then you have to fight with the opponent. Now he is fighting so hard just against one person. What should I do next? Should I kneel down and beg the opponent? Don't let him kill himself? It's so nonsense. Advertisement. So he thought that if there was someone around him who knew fire style and could completely smash the ice on his body, then he would still be able to achieve his own freedom of action, so that he would be able to continue fighting, but he was lying down alone, and he didn't bring a single soldier. But what he didn't expect in any case was that before he could make a move, Cheng immediately rushed over to him and used his ultimate move, Xinglong Palm. He must now do his best to kill the person in front of him, so he began to do his best. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. 2 people. Tong Mo thought, if it was 2 people, then I would be a little bit troubled, because if I said that I was killing Terumi Mei, I would waste all my energy on Terumi Mei, and had no time to care about 517 in the stranger, and if the stranger fled immediately, it is very likely that he would rush to the side of the ninja coalition in just a few dozen seconds and call all his army over. Terumi Mei guessed in his heart that he had no choice but to use this kind of ninjutsu. Although he was good at this kind of ninjutsu a long time ago, when he finally fought with the police, he didn't use it too much. Ninjutsu opportunity, so he will not learn this ninjutsu. Terumi Mei looked into the distance and wanted to seek new help. Please tell the truth at this moment. Although he was beaten by the other party, he was at least alive and well, so he immediately sensed that Mizukage needed him. So immediately got up from the ground and ran quickly to support Mizukage. After so many years, he has already completed his degeneration, so he can't at all. In this situation, even if he can, there is no way to break the situation, because his master's ice escape ninjutsu is actually equivalent to freezing, dealing with the opponent's ice. Escape magic. What's the use of you making the grape ice path? Wouldn't it encourage the opponent's arrogance and make you unable to move? Terumi Mei was very happy when she saw her attendant coming towards her, but then he thought of Ao again, and it seemed that there was no fire-style ninjutsu, so what's the use of him coming? So he became a big boy. He shouted and told him to flee quickly, but it seemed that because of his own voice, Tong Mo happened to see this person approaching. At this moment, Cheng immediately ran over. Terumi Mei's side examines his injuries. At that time, it would be very inappropriate to surround him in a mess. Thinking of this, he thought of quickly killing the Terumi Mei in front of him, otherwise, he would be killed. That's right, it's his famous stunt, condensing the water style in his hand, then swinging the hook forward, and hooking a green dragon milk from his hand, which looks very lethal, and can also make the other party in a short time. There is no way to show his true strength, he belongs to the weakened ninjutsu. A fan in his hand slammed forward, and then a cold wind blew from the fan, and Terumi Mei seemed to move it completely. Chapter 293 Oath Ching made an oath, if his master let him die, then he would die immediately without any hesitation, but it was not the time for him to die, he had to help his master to kill this man. To kill, or to successfully escape with their master. Tong Mo didn't expect that he would be destroyed. What he originally thought to repel him was that if that person attacked him, then he would immediately separate out a new one, and also attack him, or summon a new one. Clone to resist his attack. But what he didn't expect was that the opponent's speed was faster than him without waiting for him to do it. Not only did he surpass him in an instant, but the ninjutsu who taught him was released first, but he also released it when he didn't react, repulsed dozens of meters. Because he repelled dozens of meters, he couldn't launch any more attacks on Terumi Mei. This person seemed to protect him, Tong Mo thought, looking behind him at the same time. He originally thought that this person also brought the ninja coalition, otherwise why would he be so confident, but the next moment he saw that there was no one behind the other party, not only that, his own body was also covered with injuries. Exhausted, out of breath, not like a person in full condition. In that case, why is he here? Tong Mo really can't understand, but he won't waste too many brain cells on this kind of thing, because he already knows that he is out to do the task, not come to think of these, some are not, even if the other party has any stories and origins, it has nothing to do with him. Their current state is that if you don't kill me, then I will kill you, a matter of life and death. How could he desert on such a major issue of life and death? Taking this into account, for the sake of humanitarianism, they still sent a few experts over there. First of all, Hokage and Raikage are two of the most powerful beings in the ninja coalition. As long as they exist, they will not be allowed to the enemy has any chance to show off, they are equivalent to the main force of the ninja coalition, and the combat effectiveness is very amazing. At the same time, on the side of the ninja coalition, because they hadn't seen Terumi Mei welcome for a long time, they thought that something must have happened to Terumi Mei. Just in case, they decided to send again. Send more people to look for Terumi Mei, and if he fails to complete the search task, it is worth asking him in secret, at least to ensure that he will not be plotted by others. Thinking of this, they began to quicken their pace, eager to catch up with Mizukage, but as they went deeper and farther away from the ninja coalition, they were on the battlefield, and soon they were no longer there. Terumi Mei's footprints were not found. In this way, the sacrifice of the ninja coalition can also be avoided. As the saying goes, how strong are they who can't be beaten by three shadows? They have never seen it before. But now I can't understand him at all. Could it be that he is dead? There is an ominous premonition in my heart. Hokage and Raikage are walking side by side. The only one is Mizukage. They always felt that Mizukage had no strength. At the beginning, it only acted as a role to confuse the enemy. Now, it is even more determined, insisting on putting themselves to death, and also hooking up the two of them. Advertisement even from the very beginning of the establishment of the shadow system, they have never seen such a situation, and the same is true of their fathers and grandparents. When they found it again, they found that they were far away from the Ninja Alliance. So he patted the soil on his body, and he stood up again. The momentum on his body seemed to be stimulated, and suddenly it became stronger. He regrouped and fought with the opponent. If they are attacked in this place, then both of them are estimated to be dead. If even they can't handle something, then this matter must be quite big enough for everyone to look at each other. So, they started looking for Terumi Mei's grades everywhere, but no matter how they looked, they couldn't find Terumi Mei anywhere. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. If you are strong, you will be upgraded, and at that time, you will also assign your subordinates to do any harsh and difficult things. Although it is very likely that you will be blamed by your boss, at least you will avoiding risks on the battlefield. It is possible to save a life because of this. Originally, the direction they were looking at was actually the direction Terumi Mei was heading towards, but Terumi Mei had to go the other way in order to avoid being found by the ninja allied forces, but because the battlefield was always this big, so no matter how they run, they will definitely not run in the sight of the battlefield boss and the sight of the allied ninja army. If a dignified Mizukage is plotted by other people, then his reputation will be wiped out. I am still very young and cannot die so easily. If the two of them have any accident, then the three of them are really equivalent to giving it for nothing. It is really funny enough to give for nothing on the court. They haven't heard such funny news from me for a long time. It's just that Hokage and Raikage don't want their own lives at the moment. They feel that if they can't find Mizukage, then Mizukage should be with the defending boss on this floor. If they fight together, then I used to reinforce from an unexpected angle in the past, and there is no chance that Lee Dezhou will sneak attack on this boss. But in the end, they still don't have any news about Mizukage. They have always guessed. They have not fought against Mizukage many times. Even if they have fought, most of the battles between ninjas are at the bottom. Even if the other party kills his own companion, you are angry and want to take revenge, but at most you will die with one of the other party's people. This is the best result. Chapter 294 Terumi Mei. Fortunately, they soon found Terumi Mei, and found that he was fighting a mysterious man, that mysterious man they had never seen before, if not expected, it should be the guard boss of this floor. Hokage and Raikage don't know if it's really so easy, or just pretending, but they know that if they don't add more members now, they probably won't have the opportunity to go to reinforcements, so they didn't stay around for too long. After observing the right time to ask, they immediately rushed up. First of all, Raikage attacked the mysterious man with a swift and violent attack. Unable to overhear, Hokage and Raikage looked at each other to confirm what was in their minds. The former first Hokage was a bud-like existence, and the ninjutsu he used made other villages unbelievable, because it was too strong. They had no way to deal with it, so Raikage thought, if he can make his own, the speed becomes as fast as the speed of light, so even the other party has no choice. But it is true that although they think so, it is still difficult to implement, because after all, they do not know what the attack method of that mysterious man is, and they also know very little about his intelligence, so if they don't hurry up and talk to them now, if Terumi Mei is in the meeting, it is very likely that the mysterious person will give him a backhand, and 517 will disappear at that time. Terumi Mei's current situation doesn't look too bad, he seems to be fighting back and forth with the mysterious man. So they began to think about how to hide their whereabouts, so that the guy would not find them. If so, they could take a surprise attack, so that they would not be aware of their own attacks. Distraction in this way may even lead to some rather proud results. But this is inhumane after all. They understand that if they abandon Terumi Mei now, then the Ninja Alliance will also think that they will abandon them. This is not a satisfactory thing for people's hearts, and they may also because of this. And make the Ninja Coalition army betray each other. This is the situation they do not want to see. In order to avoid this situation, so they decided to immediately launch an additional attack to attack the mysterious person, and then attract their attention, making there was no way he could continue to attack Terumi Mei. Kill him after the seal is completed. Its speed can make the policeman not see him before the seal. It can quickly shorten the distance between the two, and then use certain means to give the other party killing. This is a very scary ninjutsu, so it requires more perseverance. Since the Raikage can be trained and completed, it has been adhering to this kind of strength, and has never stopped training for a generation, faster than a generation, and also even more incredible. Hokage felt that being a Mizukage was so ignorant that he had to take the risk to investigate. Not only that, but also involved himself in such a dangerous situation that the Ninja Coalition had to send their two Tsunade to the rescue. AGCG. The current situation is that they have to think about how to rescue them. The mysterious man didn't react for a while, and was pierced by Raikage and fell to the ground. If it is said that whoever wins is in the process of fighting the enemy now, in fact, what has been done by the enemy, if they are in the past, is there a great possibility that they will be plotted by the opponent? If it is plotted, then is the best way for them to deal with it now, should they go home immediately, so as not to suffer more attacks in the future? The speed of thunder and lightning is very fast, because it is the speed of light itself, and there is no person in the world who can exceed the speed of light. If there is, what kind of impact will it have on the entire Earth? This is a secret that belongs only to Cloud Shinobi Village, which cannot be touched by other shinobi villages. That's right, the lightning-style armor use. For now, the best way is to go to support as soon as possible. It doesn't matter what method the opponent takes to counterattack them. He must now bring Terumi Mei to the rescue. Although Terumi Mei is now diligently investigating, but fell into the enemy's trap, and is now fighting the enemy, and it seems very difficult and laborious. After all, he is still the same as everyone else, and he does not have a general understanding of the current situation. But Raikage is beyond the speed of light, and because of this power, he has a very high status in the entire ninja world, and other ninjas dare not look down on him, except first Hokage. Lightning-style armor is different from other lightning-style ninjutsu. It is attached to your body and can make your speed as fast as lightning. Chapter 295 The Power of Lightning. Now that this mysterious man has been pierced by Raikage in the heart, he has no way to react. Raikage can understand this, because its speed is too fast. During the whole battle, even he has not anyone can defend against his attack. He can kill whoever he wants, but even so, his power is still not strong enough, because he focuses on honing his speed, but ignores the power of lightning on himself. If he wants to carry more thunder and lightning, it will cause his speed to become slower. He doesn't want to give up speed, because he feels that even if his strength is weak, when he encounters the opponents, May 17th, if he could launch a fatal blow to the opponent's vital points in an instant, then even if his strength was weak, he could still successfully complete the killing mission, so he had always neglected the study of strength. But this is not the same as the previous Raikage. The third-generation Raikage used to admit defeat is the one-handed hell thrust. The ninjutsu, which is known as the strongest attack in the ninja world, is to gather all the power of thunder and lightning in the body. On the hand, or even on one finger, at the same time, the opponent launched a sudden piercing attack. This kind of terrible power is not accessible to anyone, so it is called the most powerful ninjutsu, and the attack power is the most terrible. But at the same time, his movement speed will be reduced to the minimum, just like ordinary people. Therefore, it is a powerful force designed for speed. The fourth generation of Raikage is not like this. In order to make his speed faster, he ignores the research on power, but at the same time he also understands that if his own strength is not enough to kill some relatively powerful enemies, then no matter how fast he is, it is useless. He is very clear about this. He is not a fool, he understands where his strengths lie, so he is doing research, and at the same time of his speed, he also has some research on attack power, but the power of thunder and lightning cannot be distracted. If distracted, it will as a result. There is no way for the two to cultivate to an extremely strong state. If they are not extremely strong, then it is very likely that they will give the other party an opportunity to take advantage of, and they may die on the battlefield. Therefore, he did not consider the power of thunder and lightning into the shaping of power. On the contrary, what he considers is his physical fitness, that is, the muscles he originally had on his body. Human muscle strength is very powerful, although there is still a limit after all, but that limit is at least from the point of view of everyone at present. No one except Might Guy has been able to explore that limit Raikage, and also knows that his limit is far away. Much more than that, so he has been training the same as Might Guy, but he is not training 8 inner gates, but the thunder armor. His armor is very fast, and because he has been training his physical strength. As a result, his body can fight against any strong man so far. He has been cultivating his body since he was a child, so their muscles are very large. In the face of any strong man who fights with their strength, they were not afraid at all, and might even beat each other home, but they had nothing to do when facing Raikage. First of all, Raikage has extremely fast lightning speed, and his muscle strength has far exceeded those of Hercules. In terms of strength and speed, although the strength is the original strength of the human body, it does not rely on external forces. Shaped, so there is no way for oneself to achieve the best, but it must be very good 0. At least in the face of some enemies, his strength can cause a devastating blow to the opponent, and even a punch can't take the opponent. Using the inertia of speed to launch a fatal blow to the enemy, but to be honest, it also used the power of thunder and lightning. You only need to make your body able to withstand this force, because when a person moves at high speed, the body is torn sharply. If the strength of the body can withstand it, then there is no need to be afraid. In his village, other ninjas, there are also people who have practiced the power of lightning, but in the end they are not as good as Raikage, because their physical quality is far less good than Raikage. Because Raikage has cultivated his own body 2.6 for a long time, and even when fighting the enemy, he also intentionally gave his body a high-intensity exercise. The long-term high-intensity exercise has made him able to withstand the intensity. It is very high, and now all the power of thunder and lightning is on him. He can also bear it. He can make himself reach a very high speed state, and at the same time, it will be extremely violent, and the attack power is very fierce, in the face of the enemy. At that time, the arrogant muscles on the body are enough to make people fear, so this trick hits the mysterious man and kills him directly. It will not make anyone suspicious, and Raikage has not caused too much doubts.